People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good to see you. Good morning. Mutiny is mounting at the BBC over the disgraced presenter Greg Wallace.
Anger within the organisation grows after it's revealed he remained on air despite at least 4 complaints against him.
Well, the BBC is now under pressure to explain why they didn't act sooner over the allegations against Wallace.
And elsewhere, US President Joe Biden pardons his son Hunter, claiming he was unfairly prosecuted during his final month in office.
For who the bell tolls, Nigel Farage is alongside 9 others calling to radically reform or replace the World Health Organization. We'll be joined by the leader of Reform UK a little bit later this morning.
And how do you have yours? It's one of our greatest traditions, the full English breakfast, celebrating a unique culinary tradition. And today, it's his National Day. We'll be looking at the do's and don'ts of a great English breakfast.
Police officers dubbed Notting Hill Carnival hell, saying they're treated like lambs to the slaughter. So we're asking this morning, is it time to ban the event?
And police launched their annual Drink Drive campaign, deploying additional officers on patrol to catch drivers under the influence.
An Arctic blast is set to bring freezing temperatures across the country, dropping to as low as -7 in some parts.
It's been a chilly start for some of us this morning, with cold weather on the way for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later to find out all the details with the full forecast.
And in the sport, Liverpool beat Manchester City, effectively ending their hopes of winning the Premier League again. Max Verstappen went to chaotic Qatar Grand Prix, and the draw for the FA Cup third round, where the Minnows join the big boys, happens later tonight.
It's just gone 6:01. I'm Isabel Webster.
And I'm Ben Leo, and this is GB News Breakfast.
There we go. Look at the new Christmas set, folks.
You know what?
New, isn't it?
It's pretty nice, isn't it?
It's lovely.
You know what? It's classy.
It's
I think.
classy.
It's
and
classy.
when I walked in, I thought Ben has really pushed the boat out and got me lots of Christmas presents.
Yeah.
But all these boxes that are strewn around the set are empty.
Is it not too
Hold
early?
on, hold on.
Stated.
You mean you've looked inside the boxes?
I had a look.
You did, didn't you?
I had a cheeky look just in case someone had got a present, but...
Yeah.
Well, I'm on for 2 weeks, so...
That's a present
hold your horses.
That's a present in itself. Well, it was touch and go whether or not I was going to be here myself today after the GBNews Christmas party last night. I was wedged in between Camilla Tominey and Patrick Christie's, and we had to get security because I was deep in mud. My car had to be pulled out of the mud.
I thought you said you were going to get security because you were in between Camilla Tominey and Patrick Christie's. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that was earlier in.
Oh, OK, fine, OK. I just want to clarify.
I would have helped you, but I was still inside enjoying myself.
You have a lovely time.
Left you to it.
Yeah, thanks
to the
for that.
mudlark.
Well, there were a few chaps that weren't very willing to help me.
Are you going to name any names?
Very interesting. No, I'm not going to name any names.
Nobody would help you?
Well, somebody had a new pair of chinos that they didn't want to get muddy.
Firstly, chinos to a Christmas party is one thing, but...
Cream chinos.
Cream chino. Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So, naming no names.
Can you guess who it is? So it's a man, he's not a presenter, but he's a contributor to the channel.
And he was happy to stand and watch whilst I've got covered in mud.
Whilst Patrick's help. Who helps you, Patrick?
Patrick
Camilla?
and 2 security guys.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had to get some rope to tow me out. It was...
I feel like I should have helped you now. Sorry about that.
That's
I did
okay.
see you traipsing out with the tow rope, and I just thought, I'm going to go and get another chance.
And Ben's now thinking, hold on, I was wearing cream chinos.
Our boss lives in deepest, darkest countryside, so next year I need a 4-wheel drive if I'm going to that again.
Right.
Goodness me. Anyway, we're here. Should we get on with the day's news?
Yes, indeed. Mutiny is allegedly mounting at the Beeb after its bosses apparently knew of allegations against Greg Wallace dating as far back as 2012.
Well, former BBC insiders have said the staff had raised concerns that the corporation had sought to manage risks rather than deal with problems.
Actress Emma Kennedy, who won Celebrity MasterChef in 2012, claims she saw Wallace grope a camera assistant during a shoot that year.
Well, Greg Wallace responded to the mounting allegations on social media. Let's take a listen to what he said.
In the newspaper, I can see the complaints coming from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age just from Celebrity MasterChef.
Ooh, really?
Yes.
That's your defence?
The Sun put it aptly this morning. Shut your cake hole, Greg. I guess Fraser Myers, we're joined now by. Good morning, Fraser.
Good morning. Disaster Chef as well.
Disaster Chef, that's probably the best one.
So many on the headlines.
I guess the point is, Fraser, when you're in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah, I mean, he's really come out swinging, hasn't he? Normally, you know, the PR playbook would say, be quiet, let it blow over, but he has allowed the story to be back in our front pages for another day. Many other actors are getting involved, so certain MPs now want to question the BBC about whether they intervened or not. The BBC says it did intervene, actually. It told him off in 2017 and 2018, but clearly that hasn't done enough to address the suspicions about his behaviour. He also denies all the allegations. It's important to put that forward. And he says, especially the allegations around, the more serious ones around sexual harassment, he would probably say that he, you know, is engaged in banter, but things like the groping allegation, he explicitly denies all of that. You know, of course, he is innocent until proven guilty, and maybe he might have a point to say, how has this story become, you know, how has the coverage become so disproportionate, perhaps, to the allegations? But then if you're going to blame middle-aged, middle-class women, then you're just digging a hole for yourself. It
sounds like victim blaming, doesn't it? And that's never a good defence when you're in a sticky position.
Exactly.
You know, probably no PR person would have advised him to take that approach. Interesting that he posted that quite early yesterday morning. Was that against advice? Was that after a night of stewing? Or is that really indicative of just quite how unrepentant and perhaps, you know, in a bubble he is?
I think it might be that. I think that one thing that Emma Kennedy said was that she doesn't believe that he is a sexual predator, but just thinks he's someone who just can't really read the room. And I think this PR video is a classic example of that. Did he really think that would go down well? I mean, yeah, I find the whole thing quite amusing, to be honest. I think it's added some more lightness to the story. The fact that he has been so unrepentant. It's so rare these days, actually, for anyone to just, you know, defy the usual script of giving a kind of sobbing apology. And why would he give an insincere apology, I suppose? That's what you're expected to do nowadays. So it's interesting to see him take this approach. I don't think it's worked out for him, though.
There's that Sun front page. Shut your cake hole, Greg. Last night told to shut up by celebs after moaning middle-class women of a certain age were behind a flood of sexism complaints. Fraser, is there any nuance here? Is there an argument maybe that, you know, this was many, many years ago, times were different, language was different, people take comments differently?
I think so. I think you could say that, you know, some of these allegations go back 19 years. And there has definitely been, you know, a cultural shift in how people behave in the workplace, what people think is acceptable, unacceptable. And it's always, you know, there's always a danger with historic allegations that we fail to recognise what's different. Remember, you know, if you think about something like Me Too, that was around 2017. I'm not saying that, you know, there was a complete Wild West in the workplace before that. That's not the case at all. But perhaps these, you know, certain things that people just would have maybe laughed at, and, you know, and maybe for good reason, that things have changed. So, you know, you wouldn't necessarily expect a complaint at the time for a lot of the things that he said.
Well, Asma Mir, who is actually a friend of mine, and she was on the front of the Sunday Times yesterday giving her version of it, that she raised a complaint a few months after she was on the show, and she was unaware that actually the issue had been flagged at the time, but she hadn't been told. And so deeply upset was she by the whole thing that she burnt the apron or binned them, or got rid of them, chucked out everything, anything to do with MasterChef. She didn't want to have any memories. That gives an insight into how much it affected her, doesn't it? And this is not a good look for the BBC, who look like they've been doing another cover-up.
I think the BBC keeps getting itself into this hole where it seems as if someone is a bigger star, then perhaps the rules don't apply to them. I mean, it could be not just Greg Wallace, but you think about the sort of Gary Lineker scandal, where he is clearly not following the BBC's social media rules, but that you know, so that's allowed to drag on. We also had the Strictly row recently. I think the BBC is a bit more has a bit more case of a defence in this instance, because it doesn't actually directly manage the programme. It's to do with an independent production company called Banijay, and they have their own processes. And the BBC has intervened twice, but clearly to no avail. But again, you know, BBC constantly finding itself in trouble where particularly larger stars are concerned.
Kirsty Allsop, just very quickly, of is it Location? Yeah. She tweeted something of her own experience with Greg Wallace over the years. And she answered, people were saying to her, well, why come out with it now? Why does everybody take so long to come out with their complaints? And she said, why say nothing? Because you feel, in no particular order, embarrassed, approved, shocked, waiting for a male colleague to call him out, not wanting to rock the boat, thinking it's better to plough on with the day, assuming you misheard or misunderstood or just don't get the joke. And for me, that explains a lot of my similar questions. As you know, why are you waiting so long for this to come out?
Yeah, and I think, you know, when someone makes one allegation and then other people think, oh, you know, people have a similar feeling, or you might think that, oh, I'm the only person that feels a certain way, and then someone else expresses that, and then you chime in to agree. The danger is that when these things are so historical, are your memories, you know, our memories are not completely infallible. Do you suddenly think, do you imagine things to be worse than they were when other people are making such serious complaints?
Yeah.
There's always a danger with that. So that's why, you know, he deserves to have a full investigation, deserves to be assumed innocent. And I think that's probably why he hasn't been sacked outright yet, because he's taken a step back from MasterChef, but he's not, you know, he hasn't officially been dumped. Yeah. OK, well, thank you for sort of bringing us up to speed and all of that. We should give a right of reply here to Greg Wallace's side of things. His lawyers have said they strongly deny that he engaged in sexually harassing behaviour, whilst the BBC says it will always listen if people want to make us aware of something directly. OK, let's turn our attentions to the US now, where US President Joe Biden has issued a pardon for his son Hunter, describing his prosecution as, quote-unquote, unfair. Well, the 54-year-old faced up to 17 years in federal prison over tax and firearms charges. We're joined now by former Nevada Republican Party chairwoman Amy Tarkanian. Amy, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Joe Biden said earlier this year, when he was quizzed by, I think it was MSNBC, that he downright categorically would not pardon his son. So what's changed?
Well, I think the fact that he was pushed out of the race, he doesn't have to worry about a re-election. And so what does he have to lose at this point? Nothing, except for his son. So to me, it's more of a you all can just, go about your business, and I'm going to go ahead and take my son, and we're going to go home together.
How damaging is this for the justice system in America? Because one of the reasons he repeatedly refused to step in for his son was because he had faith in the judicial process and he trusted what the jury found. And that appears to have totally disappeared in terms of a faith now. And, you're talking about the comments he made earlier this year. I think he repeated his refusal to pardon his son the day after Kamala Harris lost the election. So there's a sudden sort of about turn here.
No, you're correct. And every president has issued pardons up to, President Roosevelt issued 2,819. And then, President Trump in his first term issued 143. Now, here we have somebody who is pardoning not just an individual under the U.S. Constitution, but it's a family member, which is pretty rare. And the pardon itself is also what's questionable. So the fact that he lied and did this turnabout, as you mentioned, it's a 10-year pardon, which also includes Hunter's time overseas dealing with Ukraine when he sat on the board for Burisma. It also includes any dealings he had with China. So now you have people questioning, is this truly out of the kindness and love for his son, or does this also cover his own backside?
Yeah, Amy, I saw that dated back to 2014, and there was conjecture about Ukraine there and the companies that he started over there and established. But I'm not sure. Are you certain on the legalities? Can he only be pardoned for a crime he's been charged with, or can he be pardoned for any misdemeanors that in the future become apparent?
No, it was a blanket pardon. So he was not only pardoned for 10 years, but of course he was also supposed to have his sentencing for dealing with trying to obtain a gun illegally. He was also supposed to receive a sentence later on this month dealing with tax evasion, but they're using the excuse of his addiction that he supposedly has overcome in the last 5.5 years or so. But he was still supposed to receive his sentencing. This was a blanket pardon for 10 years.
Hunter said that in the darkest days of his addiction, they'd been exploited to publicly humiliate and shame him and his family for political sport. And in Biden's justification, he said that nobody else who has actually subsequently paid back taxes that they failed to pay because they were in the grips of addiction would have been treated like this. And he said it was clear that his son was treated differently and that there was a miscarriage of justice here. Do you accept those arguments?
Listen, I'm sure that being in the public eye, especially at that level, you are going to be under scrutiny. There's no doubt. And it's unfortunate. And I'm glad and I hope and pray that Hunter is actually sober and he continues to be so. Nobody wishes that upon any family member. However, you still need to be, if you're found guilty, I think you should still, you're not up against the law. I mean, there's nobody who shouldn't be found to have the repercussions of what they had done at some point. However, this is something that now you're going to hear on the left where they're going to use that same excuse and say, because it was President Biden's son, that's why he was under scrutiny. And then you're going to hear from the right, because he was President Biden's son, he was not under scrutiny and everything was sidestepped at every turn. So unfortunately, it's going to continue to be politicized. It's going to follow President Biden to the ends of his time while he serves and then some.
Yeah. OK, Amy Tarkanian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I just wonder if they'd got word that maybe the incoming Trump administration were planning to go after Hunter. Yeah. And, there's this conjecture about a vengeful Trump going after everybody who put him to the sword over the past 4 years.
Also, what is the precedent set now? Are the children of presidents basically above the law? And let's face it, Trump has a lot of children. So that's a lot of fun that can be had at the expense of America. Let's see what happens. Let's turn our attention now. We were talking at the beginning of the show about the festive season, people going to Christmas parties. Well, the police are now launching their annual National Christmas Drink Drive campaign called Operation Limit.
Yes, officers across the country will be increasing the number of patrols who catch drivers who who are under the influence of alcohol.
Our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley has the report.
Carol won't be with us this Christmas. 8 years ago, Carol was killed, travelling on her way to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. The driver was under the influence of drink and drug. It doesn't get any easier, and every year now, there's an empty chair at my Christmas table.
Drink and drug drivers take lives. North Yorkshire Police are paying tribute to Carol Jones in their annual Christmas campaign. The 50-year-old police worker was killed on her way to work by a driver who had taken alcohol and cannabis.
Officers have had to turn out and deal with that situation where she's been travelling in her car and been struck at 60 miles an hour and she's dead at the scene. You know, and what we're trying to say to people is these are the consequences of drink driving or driving whilst under the influence of drugs. You know, people might think you won't catch me, I'm a good driver, I've never had a crash. It can affect anyone. And, you know, we've got a large area to cover in North Yorkshire. We've got 6,000 square miles. And my message to people is, you know, we can't be everywhere, but we could be anywhere.
As part of Operation Limit, police are increasing the number of drink and drug driving patrols. Throughout December, officers will be conducting 24/7 roadside checks and using a range of specialist tactics.
So we've just pulled up here, totally unannounced. I can go anywhere within North Yorkshire, really, so can my colleagues. We know where the busier places are, we know where the higher risk areas are. We also know, through intelligence-led policing, of some drivers who will be out there and doing it with total disregard. If you know that you're going out, if you know you've got a Christmas celebration going to happen, plan for how you're going to get there and how you're going to get back safely. Don't put lives at risk.
During last year's month-long operation, North Yorkshire police officers conducted 731 roadside tests. 18% of motorists tested were over the drink or drug limit. This was a 6.9% increase from the same period in 2022. The drivers who were stopped on this patrol had no alcohol in their system.
I was going slightly over the speed limit, so he's just breathalyzed me and give me a few words of advice. It's a vital thing to do.
I'm of that age group, which is probably guilty more so than others, a lot of others, but yeah, fully aware. I don't drink and drive.
We don't want another empty seat this Christmas, is the message of this festive campaign, which ends on New Year's Day. Anna Riley, GB News.
You've been stopped a few times, haven't you, by the police? But you've always, obviously, been completely fine.
I've always come up trumps.
Yeah.
I was just telling Coity, the last time I went to a late-night poker game at a casino, I was driving back at 3 in the morning, and then the police stopped me, and they were probably expecting me to be, you know, drunk as a fart. But they said, "Where have you been?" I said, "Oh, the casino officer." They said, "Oh, I had a few drinks, have you?" I said, "Nope, swear I haven't." And they breathalyzed me, and I got away with it. And you can see, every time you can see the look in their eyes, they're just like, "Oh, OK, off you go, off you go."
It's just not worth it. It can ruin your life. Obviously, you can kill people if you're drinking and driving, but, you know, if you do get away with it, you are still risking your job, whatever else it might be.
There was a lad near me on Saturday night. He ploughed over a roundabout. The car went upside down, smashed into a taxi full of people, and the poor boy, my wife knows of him, in the neighbouring town. He died, unfortunately. He's only about 30.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's just not worth it. We have been showing each other our Christmas trees and our decorations, and my makeup artist has just sent hers as well. So we're going to put it out to you this morning. We'd love to see if you've been getting festive, because I know it's only the 2nd of December, but...
It feels too early. I was just saying to Izzy off air. Yeah. But we've done it in the studio. We've got the trees up and the prezzies out.
And I'm here for it. Why not? So I got my tree up yesterday, and actually, whilst I went to this GB News get-together, I left the kids to decorate it, and we'll show you pictures a little bit later on. But I thought that was quite brave of me to let the kids do the tree.
How old are they?
9 and 6. It's the first... Last year they did it, don't tell them, and I redid it when they were asleep.
Oh.
Actually, they did a great job this year.
Did they not put sort of squirty cream all over it and toilet
I'd
roll?
already curated what was allowed to go on.
You told them?
They had some tinsel, but that's for their bedroom only.
I'll try and get my wife to send me the picture of ours. We did ours at the weekend, but I was so tired from covering Patrick's show all week. I was just zonked on the sofa watching them do it. I felt a bit bad, but I was too tired.
Fair enough. So send in yours, gbnews.com/yoursay, and we'll try and put some up on the telly.
Lovely. Right, let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
More than 20,000 migrants crossed the Channel since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister in July, hitting that milestone in just 5 months. However, the Prime Minister accused the Conservatives of opening the borders and promised to cut numbers after record-high asylum costs of £5 billion. It also comes as 50 people have died attempting that journey this year, making 2024 the deadliest year on record.
And Russia's new defence budget, described as the most secretive since the Soviet era, has sparked fresh warnings, with a third of it being kept under wraps. Vladimir Putin has just signed off a huge 25% increase, pushing military spending to nearly a third of the entire Russian budget.
And 77-year-old music legend Elton John has announced that he's lost his eyesight. He made that shock announcement at the opening of his new musical, The Devil Wears Prada, yesterday evening in London. Speaking during the curtain call, John told the audience that he hadn't been able to see the performance, but he said he loves to hear it. So do we, John. Or even Elton.
Mr. John.
Don't know why I called him John. Gosh, that's shocking, isn't it?
Really sad.
Really sad. And I know he's had a few issues with his mobility as well.
Was there a reason for it?
I don't know. Yeah, I think he had some sort of illness.
How old is he?
It was this eye infection that's gone a bit nasty. Yeah, he's
77.
In his 70s, yeah.
See, for me, that's still pretty young in the grand scheme of things.
100%, yeah.
You know, I think... I was about to say... Sorry, Mum. I was about to say my mum's 77 this Friday. She's not. She's a bit younger than that. She's 73 or 4.
Yeah, my mum's early 70s. But, you know, you don't expect to go blind in your 70s.
No.
Poor thing. I suppose he's up there, Stevie Wonder. Some of these absolutely incredible musicians can still perform even without their eyesight, can't they? We won't even be looking at the keys on the piano. He'll just know where they are.
Yeah. I mean, music is, I guess it's an intuitive thing, isn't it? Sir Elton said that in a new documentary about his life, he said that he doesn't know how much time he has left. Also admitted that his young children worry about his age. That's sad.
Bless him. Right, there are rumours or indeed reports that there could be temperatures as low as -7 this week. Let's find out where with Ellie Glazier.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been a bit of a chillier start for many of us this morning, with colder weather on the way for all of us as we head over the next couple of days. Back to what we've got out there at the moment though, a chilly start across parts of Scotland, some sleet and snow showers across the very far north, sinking their way southwards, and across northern parts of England, outbreaks of showery rain sink their way towards the southeast as we head towards the afternoon. For Northern Ireland, Wales, southwestern parts of England though, plenty of sunshine through the afternoon, plenty of blue skies on offer, but with northerly winds feeling much colder than over the weekend. Only 10 or 11 degrees in the south and 5 or 6 further north, and with some brisk northerly winds along eastern coast, feeling colder here through the afternoon too. As we then go into Monday evening, the outbreaks of showery rain across the southeast do linger for a time, but eventually clear their way offshore as we go through the evening. For southwest England, parts of Wales, generally staying dry through the evening, maybe 1 or 2 showers around, and perhaps 1 or 2 showers for Northern Ireland too. For Northern England, parts of Scotland generally staying dry to end the day, plenty of clear spells around. 1 or 2 isolated showers still across northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Again, these turning to sleet and snow in places. Those brisk northerly winds do continue along eastern coast, perhaps 1 or 2 showers here overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. But for most of us, it'll be turning drier overnight with plenty of clear spells, and light winds will mean it turns quite chilly as we start on Tuesday morning. Quite a widespread frost across the UK, down below 0 across much of Scotland and northern England, and even in the south, only around 2 or 3 degrees for many of us. So a chilly start to the day across much of the UK on Tuesday, but quite a bright start, plenty of sunshine to start the day. However, quickly turning cloudy across western areas as we see this weather front arriving, pushing its way eastwards as we go towards Tuesday afternoon, turning to sleet and snow over the hills across northern parts of the UK through Tuesday afternoon. Another chilly day to come for many of us, only 4 or 5 degrees in the north and around 9 or 10 in the south, so around average for the time of year.
Woo! A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed Heat Pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Yeah, wrap up warm. It was cold this morning and over the weekend. Saturday was freezing.
Oh, toughen up. It wasn't as bad as last week when there was actual ice on the windscreen. It was quite mild, I thought, this morning.
No.
Not too bad.
Well, I live a lot further down south.
That's true.
my
That's true. Right, stay with us. Coming up, find out more in just a moment when we will be talking about all things sport with Coity.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Serving some of the most talked about food in Chelsea, executive head chef of Number 50 Cheney, Ian Smith, has created a range of menus with a hint of the homeland, using the finest British ingredients sourced by trusted suppliers. Ian Smith was head chef at Jason Atherton's Social Eating House and spent time in the kitchens of the Galvin brothers. Ian joins me now to tell more of the story. Tell me about Number 50 Cheney.
Yes, so we are a beautiful restaurant down in the corner of Chelsea on the Embankment with an amazing team. And we are really pride ourselves on, being an affordable luxury that people, really are wanting to return to week in, week out.
What's the view from your restaurant?
Well, you can see the Embankment, the Thames, and Albert Bridge, which is very nice.
Very
it's
nice.
actually lit up. Very romantic.
And tell me a little bit about your philosophy. I was talking there about having a touch of the homeland, British food, seasonal food.
Yes. Yeah, I think for me, great cooking is, with simplicity on finest ingredients, cooked with simplicity, and ultimately, there to be enjoyed through... Yeah, sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, it starts as a young person's business. You went into it very young, didn't you? 15?
Yes. Yeah, so I was 15. I sat in my parents' bedroom, called the Ritz, the Dorchester and Claridge's, and very luckily, a man on the end of the phone, 21 years ago, sent me on to a college course called the Specialised Chef Scholarship. 3 days later, I had a Ritz stamp letter through the post, and off me and my parents went, and luckily I got on the course.
And how old were you when you got your first responsibility, would you say?
I think the biggest responsibility in my career is today. Leading Number 50 Cheney.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, it's time for our biggest and greatest Greater British giveaway of the year. I absolutely fumbled that on Friday night doing Patrick's show. The biggest and greatest Great British giveaway.
Oh, no, it's not exactly a tongue... Well, it is a tongue twister.
It is a bit. It is on a Friday night when you're knackered.
50 grand, though. Can't muddle that up. Tax-free as well. It is our biggest cash prize that we've ever given away. It could be yours. Here's all the details of how.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway so far, with your chance to win a spectacular £50,000 in tax-free cash. 2025 could be amazing, with plenty of treats, holidays and fun on the horizon. How would you enjoy that cash? £50,000 will make someone our biggest ever winner. For another chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 3232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Oh, this Arctic blast is getting everyone very excited. -7 this week, apparently. Find out where in a little minute or two.
Yeah, I think Sunday saw highs of, was it 16 degrees? Yeah. Although the Met Office is predicting sub-zero conditions today, with many waking up to frosts overnight.
Well, let's find out all the details from the weather journalist Nathan Rao. Good morning to you, Nathan. Am I right in thinking it's not good morning? It's not going to be down here in the southeast, this -7?
No, it's not. It's really for the north. But once again, what is really interesting is we're flip-flopping between, I mean, you're quite right, Ben. Yesterday it was 15.4 in Cardiff. And today we're talking about temperatures through the start of the week falling to freezing in the south and around about -5, possibly lower to the north and in Scotland. As again, we have another plume of Arctic air coming down from the north. And we seem to be flip-flopping between stormier, milder weather and then immediately afterwards colder and potentially snowier weather. I've seen some headlines this morning, some very exciting headlines about 500-mile walls of snow and snow blitzes and things. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I do think, looking at the forecast this morning, we're going to have a couple of days of very, very cold weather with sleet and snow in the north and in Scotland. And Ben, you mentioned you were cold this morning, so I'd wrap up because the next couple of days it is going to be very, very chilly. We are, after all, in the beginning of the meteorological winter. That started on the 1st of December, so officially now we're in winter. So very, very cold. And then towards the end of the week, it's back again to the mild and the stormy. So we're all over the place with the weather at the moment.
Well, Nathan, was it cold this morning? Because Isabel told me to man up, and I thought it was quite cold. How cold was it down in...
I don't really want to pick a side with you. Yes, it was probably colder than it was yesterday. It was milder at the weekend.
Very diplomatic.
Yes, the colder air has come down overnight, but it's really the next couple of days. The Met Office temperatures aren't actually in for this morning, but I'll back with you, Ben. It was probably about 3 this morning. So
I see what's happening here.
We've got to stick together. Us guys have got to stick together.
Just you wait. If you think that was cold, Ben, wait till it hits those freezing temperatures. So we don't really know what's behind this sort of fluctuation in the weather. And I suppose, is it unusual to have had 2 lots of snow before Christmas?
No, it's not unusual. And what's behind it is we have the jet stream, which is right over us at the moment. And you know me, I'm always going to be talking about the jet stream because that really is what governs our weather. And it's the jet stream that sort of drives this battle between high and low pressure. Now, whenever you're watching the Met Office talking about the weather, they're always going to be talking about high pressure and low pressure. And low pressure is what brings in that milder but stormier weather from the west and the Atlantic. And higher pressure, which we've got at the moment to the west of the UK, bringing that colder weather down from the north at this time of year. And we're just flip-flopping between the two. And as I mentioned, at the end of this week, we're going back into an Atlantic low-pressure regime and possibly another stormier spell ahead of the weekend. And it was very the same a couple of weeks ago when we had a very, very cold snap. And then we had 2 storms, Storm Bert and Storm Connell, at the end of the cold spell. We're in that sort of regime, and the long-range outlooks really predict a similar pattern right up until certainly for the next 10 days and possibly up until Christmas, with just colder than milder. It's not especially unusual. We've seen periods like this before. And in fact, in 2020 and I think 2013, we were looking at Christmas flooding, milder, very, very mild temperatures of 15 degrees over the Christmas period, rather than what everybody wants, which is a nice, crisp, cold Christmas with snow on Christmas Day. Looking unlikely, I think, this year.
I was about to ask you, Nathan, the odds for a white Christmas unlikely?
I know. I'm being asked a lot. The White Christmas, I have to be very, very sensible and behave myself because I get into all sorts of trouble at this time of year when I start making predictions about White Christmases. About 10 days before Christmas is when you can say with any certainty whether we're going to get snow. Now, the definition of a White Christmas is 1 flake of snow anywhere in the UK. So I'm going to be very, very confident and say, yes, I think we're going to get a White Christmas this year. But if you've got visions, Ben, of throwing your window open on Christmas warm morning and peering out like Scrooge into a snowy London sea. I wouldn't hold up much hope for that. I think we're probably going to be more mild and windy and wet.
That's 2 weeks today. We'll book you in and we'll get your official prediction, because that's 10 days until Christmas. I watched Home Alone over the weekend. That's a proper white Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah,
If only it was like that, like in the movies. That would be good. Nathan, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
I don't mind if it's cold, as long as the sun's out. We saw some amazing pictures just there on the screen, just beautiful, crisp mornings and sunsets. You know, if it's cold, I don't care, as long as the sun's out.
I absolutely agree. There's nothing worse than grey drizzle, where you feel like there's sun just up there, the other side of the clouds. And if you ever go on a plane,
there we go. This
straight
is the one.
through it.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Heaven.
That is heaven. Absolutely. The crunch of the ground underneath you with the frost.
Oh, poetic.
Oh, it's just.
Did you do English literature?
I gave up English at A-level. I didn't do it at A-level, funnily enough.
Nice. Love it.
But love it, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Still to come, Coisey's here with all the latest sports news, including that big result from Liverpool, Man City last night, top of the table clash. Who won? Find out in just a sec.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Yorkshire, the A650 is closed in both directions between Canal Road and the A647 Leeds Road in Bradford for an investigation. In London, the A1101, the Wash Road at Welney, is closed each way because of flooding. There's a reduced rail service north of Milton Keynes Central again today because of emergency engineering works at Northampton, with delays of up to 20 minutes to trains between Milton Keynes Central and Watford Junction because of a track fault. The M25 in Essex is closed anti-clockwise from junction 27 for the M11 to 26 at Waltham Abbey after an accident causing delays. In London, the A118 is closed each way along the high road in Chadwell Heath after a fire. On the M20, there's a report of a problem westbound just before junction 4 at Leybourne, and on the M26 is taking nearly half an hour in queues approaching the M25. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, sports now. Paul Coit with all the latest, including that exciting Liverpool game last night.
2-0, yep. Liverpool won, Manchester United. Liverpool beat Manchester City 2-0. No wins for Manchester City in 7 games now. So Liverpool are 9 points clear. 11 points above City. You know, the Manchester City fans, or should say the Liverpool fans, were goading Pep Guardiola and they were singing "You're getting sacked in the morning," you know, which is, let's face it, it's never going to happen. But the thing is, his reaction to that was to put 6 fingers up. By the way, that was in 2 hands, not just in 1 hand. So he's given all this to show how many Premier League titles that he's won. But that sounds like a desperate man. You don't need to do that.
About him, actually. I saw those pictures of his head last week.
Oh, yeah.
And
what, the scratchy business? It's very bizarre.
He had to apologise, didn't he, for the self-harm comment?
Well, he did make a comment. It was like a jokey comment, and he realised it was an ill-thought-out joke. So all these people that are singing "You're getting sacked in the morning," I mean, even yesterday he blamed the people that were singing that. He blamed it on middle-class women of a certain age. So you know, it's like, what can you do? So they were giving him a hard time. Arne Slot, though, has lost 1 game now since becoming Liverpool manager, and they are looking very...
Thing is, Coity, it's still very early, and City, I'm an Arsenal fan, but City will win it, I think, because they can go on 15-game win streaks at the click of a finger.
The thing is, Ben, I don't know whether they can now. I mean, the thing is, this is what a lot of us have expected. You think, win a couple of games, then they're going to turn it around. But with Rodri missing, he makes a difference. But the thing is, the players, it's almost like the speed of someone like Kyle Walker is gone. I wonder, it looks like it's a club that needs a rebuild.
You know what they haven't got? Momentum.
You know what? That's exactly what they haven't got. And that's exactly what they need, whereas Liverpool do have the momentum. Let's hear from Arne Slot, the Liverpool manager, shall we?
The reason why these teams won so many things is that they weren't able to win once or twice. They were able to win every single 3 days. So we're really happy with these 2 wins, but we also understand if we want to achieve more than this, then winning once or twice is, even against these big teams, is not enough to win anything in the end of the season.
He's done a great job, hasn't he?
He's done a great job.
You know what he likes?
Smoking the pancakes.
That's worse enough what I was thinking. He likes the blue jumper with the zip. He does.
Sounds like Steve McFarlane.
He does. Whenever he's singing, he loves the white shirt with the blue jumper with the zip. He always wears those. It's like his thing.
Can't take you seriously when you say the word zip.
You don't like the jumper with the zip? That's what he likes to wear. So anyway, Manchester United 4.
It's just ridiculous, but it's funny. Sorry.
Des Lynam never used to do this, you know.
That's true.
Manchester United 4, Everton 0. First win for Ruben Amorim in the Premier League. So 1-1 at Ipswich, 3-2 in the Europa League. So they're up to 9th. Chelsea 3, Aston Villa 0. Aston Villa having a terrible time at the moment.
Oh, but did you see? Was it Cole Palmer's goal?
Yeah.
Oh. Absolutely beautiful.
It really was. It was a beautiful goal. Chelsea are looking much better now. So they're looking very good. Villa haven't won now in 8 games. Spurs won, Fulham won. Nothing really else I can say about it.
Villa not won in 8.
Haven't won in 8.
That's not good.
No, really not.
Emery on the ropes?
No. No, he's too good. But the thing is, it's just they're having a dip. But the thing is, there's no way they're going to look at the manager and think, oh, you're out. He's done too much for them. So he's got a lot in the bank. Spurs won, Fulham won. I was in a lounge at Spurs yesterday. Who was the famous Fulham fan that was in there?
Famous Fulham fan?
I'll tell you, because...
Go on, then.
Hugh Grant was
Really?
But people were going, Hugh Grant's in here. But he's kind of undercover. So I walked around looking for him. I'm like, Hugh, I couldn't find you. Where were you?
He's gone viral at the moment talking about all the things that annoy him.
Yeah.
And I agree with him on every single thing.
What are they? One of them, men in Spurs suits looking for him?
He hates backpacks. He hates being in crowded places. He's just really intolerant, and it just made me laugh.
Yes.
He's just a grumpy old man, but...
And you agreed with everything.
I did, actually.
What does that say about you, Isabel?
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. FA Cup third-round draw is tonight, which is always very exciting. Go back to when we were a kid, listening out for the third round. This is when the minnows get involved against the big boys. So everybody will be listening around. It's 7 o'clock tonight. Tamworth will be in it, who beat Burton yesterday, and Bromley, for the first time in their history, are in the third-round draw.
Bromley.
So they'll be looking for a big draw.
Right.
Maybe Arsenal away. Who knows?
No,
Who knows?
they
Because
get
Arsenal always get lucky
talk.
draws in the third round of the Cup, don't they?
Fighting
so we'll
talk.
have to see how...
We'll have to
we'll have to see how things go there.
Right,
Thanks, Coity.
Thank you.
A pleasure. Still to come, Chris Akabusi and Dawn Neeson will be taking us through the day's front pages, making the news. That's next.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Recruiters are warning that if you're not tech savvy, you could be missing out with your CV failing to make it through an AI-powered sifting process. So we've gone from sort of computer says no HR people ticking boxes to AI, right? Is that right?
Yes, well, this applies once you're in the job as well, as a recent report revealed that employees expect AI will manage an average of a third of their tasks within the next 12 months. Well, joining us now to discuss this is Cosmo Curry, founder of Van Kaizen, a leading company in technology recruitment.
Morning, Cosmo.
Morning. Good morning. Well, yeah, thank you for joining us. It's very interesting, isn't it? Because AI is, of course, on the rise, and now in the workplace and in universities and things. Another article came to mind. There was a student recently, I think it was in the news just the other day, that got in trouble for using AI. So there's, you know, for exam purposes and essays. So there's lots of different ways that it can be a good thing and a bad thing. But you're, of course, here to talk about the ways in which AI is a good thing within the workplace.
Absolutely. I mean, AI is here to stay, for sure. And we're seeing this rise of people using it in such a clever format. And the other side of it is also we're seeing people who are using it and during the process of that, they are losing their character. We're losing the actual insight into the individual behind that. And so we've kind of got this kind of mix. And I think AI is phenomenal when you're looking at it from a point of view of optimization, point of view of speed, getting results. But I think we have to remember that, you know, the fundamental of recruitment is people. And we cannot substitute the people, the personal aspect, by replacing that with AI.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Let's take a look at the front pages. Pretty much one face dominating them all. The Telegraph leading with Greg Wallace facing that backlash after claiming allegations of sexually inappropriate behaviour made against him was from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age.
The Sun, I love this one, shuts your cake hole, Greg, with a not very flattering picture of the man himself.
The Mirror also enjoying their puns, leading with Disaster Chef.
And the Daily Mail leads with the BBC allowing Greg Wallace to remain on air despite at least 4 complaints being made against him.
The Times leading with NHS bosses warning that vital services will be cut back and A&E departments will risk being turned into war zones if Labour's targets are to be met.
OK, we're joined now by stars of the morning, Chris Akabusi and Dawn Neeson, to go through the rest of today's stories. What do you make of these front pages, Dawn? And the story, indeed.
Marvellous. I wish I was editing a paper today. Lots of good puns.
What would your headline be?
The Sun's pretty good today, isn't it?
I think the Mirror's won it. Disaster Chef.
Yeah, that's quite good. No, but yeah, I mean, you can have some good fun with this story. And to be honest with you, it's, you know, if you were advising, because a lot of my friends who are former journalists have gone into crisis management for celebrities, right? OK, so, you know, poachers turn gamekeepers. And you can imagine trying to do the crisis management with Greg Wallace at the moment. Yeah. It's like, Greg, whatever you do, mate, right, OK, just don't blame the women, all right? Just keep quiet, it'll go away. Pick up the papers or your phone on Sunday morning and see that Instagram clip that Greg put out and you go, oh, my God, no, I can't work with you anymore.
Well, you made a good point. You suggested he'd been stewing about it in the into the early hours, and then 7 a.m. came and...
Because it was 6:30, and my other theory is that he'd probably been down the gym and he was probably feeling quite pumped about it. A couple of things. I mean, obviously, it was the most ridiculous, stupid thing to say. He does have a point, though. I think he does have a point by saying middle-class women of a certain age have caused the row. And the reason I think he's got a point is because middle-class women of a certain age have the strength and the confidence to stand up and make a complaint. Younger, working-class women working in the TV industry in particular would feel so scared for their jobs and their livelihoods they wouldn't dream of saying this. So, yeah, he does have a point. But the way he said it and what he said is just...
it's so sexist, classist, and, as you said, doesn't acknowledge the fact that probably they're the only demographic that will feel that they have the confidence to... As Kirsty Allsop makes the point this morning, and you were reading her tweet, why the delay in so many of these allegations coming forward? Because people feel frightened to rock the boat.
But the other thing with this, Isabel, there isn't really a delay, because people, women, middle-class women of a certain age, have been complaining about his behaviour for 12 years. The problem isn't with the women, and a lot of people saying that over the weekend, oh, well, why didn't you say something about it when it happened? The problem is women did say something. The problem is with the people they complained to, i.e. the BBC in this case, it's not just the BBC, did nothing, because they were protecting the talent. We've seen it happen to other broadcasters as well.
Has the BBC got some questions to answer there then, Chris? Accusations of a cover-up?
Look, I don't like this story. Obviously, the guy's done something wrong.
Why don't you like it?
Because it's salacious gossip. For me, it's salacious gossip. It's over a 20-year period. If the guy had this track record, it's something that should have been dealt with a long time ago. If someone 19 years ago made the complaint, then the executive producers of that show that he was on at the time should have dealt with it. But right now, it's just salacious gossip, and it's not for me.
Yeah, and look, we should point out, innocent until proven guilty, you know, nobody has yet been able to prove any of these allegations, and, you know, the BBC have not sacked him or anything. He's stepped back.
I mean, to be fair, I met Greg Wallace. When I met him, I thought I liked him, I enjoyed his company, I thought he was fun. He's denied all these allegations. The other reason this is middle-class women of a certain age is because a working-class woman of a certain age would have just smacked him straight in the face. Sorry.
Well, it depends what he's done. I've not got into the detail, but it depends what he's done.
So if the allegations are proven true, a working-class woman, this one, would have smacked him in the face.
OK.
Yeah. Right, let's move on, shall we? This is an interesting one. The Prime Minister is going to attempt to do a bit of a reset this week, isn't he, Chris, after this disastrous budget, and let's be honest, all the other things have been going on, the Transport Secretary being a convict, just to name but a few things, Taylor Swiftgate, whatever it might be. He's set out, there's going to be these 5 targets, one of which is the NHS and improving wait times. And what have the NHS come out and said this morning about these plans?
Right, OK. So this you're talking about the ambitious and achievable targets that he's talking about, which for me has echoes of Rishi Sunak's 5 pledges. On the one hand, I do understand what Turkey is trying to do, and I think that maybe, when I say we, us in the media as well, need to lay off him a little bit. I think it's been a bit of a punch bag.
Really? Starmer?
Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say is, he's been in the job for 6 months. He's got a 5-year programme. He's trying to lay out a series of plans. Some of the stuff that's come out there quite clearly, you know, with hammering the working class, the older generation like myself. So let's just judge him on what he said he's going for. 2029, let's have a look.
That's a very generous approach there, Chris. Very generous.
Got to be done.
I'm just sick of their pledges. Just do something. Just stop giving me promises. Yeah, let's have more action, less words.
Fair enough. Right, thank you both. See more from them shortly. Here's Ellie Glazier with the forecast.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been a bit of a chillier start for many of us this morning, with colder weather on the way for all of us as we head over the next couple of days. Back to what we've got out there at the moment though, a chilly start across parts of Scotland, some sleet and snow showers across the very far north, sinking their way southwards, and across northern parts of England, outbreaks of showery rain sink their way towards the southeast as we head towards the afternoon. For Northern Ireland, Wales, southwestern parts of England though, plenty of sunshine through the afternoon, plenty of blue skies on offer, but with northerly winds feeling much colder than over the weekend. Only 10 or 11 degrees in the south and 5 or 6 further north, and with some brisk northerly winds along eastern coast, feeling colder here through the afternoon too. As we then go into Monday evening, the outbreaks of showery rain across the southeast do linger for a time, but eventually clear their way offshore as we go through the evening. For southwest England, parts of Wales, generally staying dry through the evening, maybe 1 or 2 showers around, and perhaps 1 or 2 showers for Northern Ireland too. For Northern England, parts of Scotland generally staying dry to end the day, plenty of clear spells around. 1 or 2 isolated showers still across northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Again, these turning to sleet and snow in places. Those brisk northerly winds do continue along eastern coast, perhaps 1 or 2 showers here overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. But for most of us, it'll be turning drier overnight with plenty of clear spells, and light winds will mean it turns quite chilly as we start on Tuesday morning. Quite a widespread frost across the UK, down below 0 across much of Scotland and northern England, and even in the south, only around 2 or 3 degrees for many of us. So a chilly start to the day across much of the UK on Tuesday, but quite a bright start, plenty of sunshine to start the day. However, quickly turning cloudy across western areas as we see this weather front arriving, pushing its way eastwards as we go towards Tuesday afternoon, turning to sleet and snow over the hills across northern parts of the UK through Tuesday afternoon. Another chilly day to come for many of us, only 4 or 5 degrees in the north and around 9 or 10 in the south, so around average for the time of year.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Yorkshire, the A650 is closed each way along Shipley Airedale Road in Bradford for an investigation. There are some cancelled trains between Ellesmere Port and Liverpool Central because of an obstruction on the line. The M6 in Cheshire is partly blocked southbound by an accident between junctions 21 and 20 from Warrington to the M56. There are queues from junction 21. In Norfolk, the A1101 is closed at Welney because of flooding. There's a reduced rail service between Rugby and Euston Station in London because of emergency engineering works after the flooding at Northampton, and trains have been stopped southbound from Cambridge to Hitchin because of a faulty train. In London, the A118 is closed each way along the High Road in Chadwell Heath after a fire, and on the M26 in Kent, it's taking around half an hour in westbound queues towards the M25 because of roadworks. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway so far, with your chance to win a spectacular £50,000 in tax-free cash. 2025 could be amazing, with plenty of treats, holidays and fun on the horizon. How would you enjoy that cash? £50,000 will make someone our biggest ever winner. For your chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Mutiny mounting at the BBC over disgraced presenter Greg Wallace.
Anger within the organisation grows after it's revealed he remained on air despite at least 4 complaints against him.
And the BBC is now under pressure to explain why they didn't act sooner over the allegations against Mr Wallace.
In other news, the US President Joe Biden has pardoned his son Hunter, claiming he was unfairly prosecuted during his final month in office.
For who the bell tolls, Nigel Farage, alongside 9 others, are calling to radically reform or replace the World Health Organization. We'll be joined by the man himself later this morning.
It's one of our greatest traditions, the full English breakfast, celebrating a unique culinary tradition, and today is its National Day, so we'll be looking at the do's and don'ts of a full English.
Police officers dubbed Notting Hill Carnival hell, saying they're treated like lambs to the slaughter. We're asking, is it finally time to ban the event?
And police are launching their annual drink drive campaign, deploying additional officers on patrol to catch drivers under the influence.
And an Arctic blast is set to bring freezing temperatures across the country, dropping to as low as -7 in some parts.
It's been a chilly start for some of us this morning, with cold weather on the way for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later to find out all the details with the full forecast.
And with sport this morning, Max Verstappen wins a chaotic Qatar Grand Prix and calls George Russell two-faced. Snooker has lost one of its greats, and Bernie Ecclestone is selling his collection of historic F1 cars, if you're interested.
It's just gone 1 minute past 7. I'm Ben Leo.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast. Do you like our Christmas titles there? Snowflakes all over the GB News emblem.
Lovely.
Look at our lovely studio.
Beautiful.
I'm not just talking about our lovely panel here this morning.
I'm just a little worried that I'm going to have to dress up as Father Christmas for the sport from next week, and I'm really not happy about it, just to let you know.
More a Christmas elf.
Oh.
Don't do that, it would be creepy.
Oh, I think so. I think
you as Father Christmas would be...
No, it would not.
Very strange.
No, it would, but...
You could come as shepherd?
As a shepherd. Are you just throwing things around?
I don't know. Just let's see what people would like to see Paul come dressed up.
Oh, no, let's not do that. Let's
baby
really
Jesus.
not do that.
Baby Jesus, no, that's too far. It gives him a lot of time off in December.
Today I am the baby Jesus. That'd be very moving.
Only in on the 25th.
OK.
What about a donkey?
A donkey.
Nativity
OK,
donkey.
I'll do a donkey. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Back end of a donkey, that'd be fine.
Well, we've been asking you this morning to send in pictures of your tree if you've been putting it up this weekend. I put my tree up yesterday. I actually left the kids to decorate it.
Wow, that's nice.
Party.
So your kids
Quite
did that?
Pleased with that, yeah.
Very nice.
A top tip, though, we are borrowing from my mother-in-law our pre-lit tree rather than having a real one. First time we've ever done it. And why I like it?
Hang on.
No, that's not real.
The lights are perfectly distributed.
Pre-lit?
So pre-lit.
What does that mean?
You don't have to wrap lights around it. You literally...
The lights are already on the tree?
Yes.
That's cheating, isn't it?
It's a game changer. Guys, look how great it looks.
I know, but it's cheating.
I love it.
This is my tree, apparently. There's my boys. Doesn't look as good in the...
No, it doesn't look as good.
It needs a good night shot.
We need the night shot. But there's my boys. Hello, Jude. Hello, Zach.
Morning, boys.
Is that a real one, by the way?
Oh,
that's a real one, isn't it?
Dawn's gone for a frosty tree.
Blimey.
In her London penthouse, looking very suave. And we've got Helen from Makeup as well, who's also gone for the frosted tip.
Oh, I think
nice.
Helen's wins.
Do you reckon she... Well, I think mine wins, but, you know, I'm a bit biased.
Why think nobody asked me for a picture of my tree?
Have you put your tree up?
No, but that's not the point.
In the loft.
If you'd been watching,
Still
you would
growing.
be aware we have appealed to the public to send in their pictures. Beverman sent in their tree, 27 years old, and some of the baubles are over 50 years old.
Oh, I love that. And Claire, this is yours, Claire, looking lovely.
Bush.
Claire, the farmer's wife. Yeah, very good.
I like that one. That's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Kyle from Guildford in Surrey has sent through their tree, looking very good. Love it.
Nice big baubles there. And Helen has sent through her tree, the first in her new house.
Oh, wow.
That's nice.
Wow,
Lovely.
I'm more impressed by that TV. Look at that. What a whopper. Is that the F1 on?
Oh, look at that. Oh, you see, now I think that's a pre-lit tree. That's apparently from Isabel as well. I reckon, with my expert eye, that's a pre-lit tree. I think it's the way forward, guys.
Sure,
Look, she's got a cup of tea there as well. She's really enjoying that. She's done the hard work, sat down with a cup of tea and taken a picture.
Can I just mention the most disappointing tree that there is? In Trafalgar Square, I mentioned this to you earlier, it really disappoints me. In Trafalgar Square, every year, and they used to do it on Blue Peter, you get the tree, which is given to Britain from Norway. It's thin. The lighting is bad. It's a bad-looking tree.
Can we blame Sadiq Khan for that?
This has been going on for a long time, Ben, so you might get away with that one. But the thing is, It's never very good. It's always such a letdown when Bill goes to Trafalgar Square.
Let's just blame Sadiq for it. It might not be his
They
problem,
do it better in America, don't they?
They
the
do.
trees are a bit
Such
more...
a thin... I think the Norwegians are actually going, you know what, let's give them that one.
Give him the rubbish one.
Yeah, just give them that one.
Oh dear.
It's not very good. And
Anyway,
the
keep those
lighting's bad.
pictures coming in. And, Paul, if you'd like to be included, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Send
It'll be
in
next
your tweet.
week.
All right, next
I'll
week.
bring it in.
Very good.
OK, to the day's top stories. Mutiny is allegedly mounting at the BBC after its emerged bosses knew of allegations against Greg Wallace dating as far back as 2012.
Well, we've been here before, haven't we? Former BBC insiders have said that staff raised concerns that the corporation was seeking to manage risks rather than deal with problems.
Actress Emma Kennedy, who won Celebrity MasterChef in 2012, she claims she saw Wallace grope a camera assistant during a shoot that year.
Well, Greg Wallace has responded to the mounting allegations on social media. Let's take a look to what he posted yesterday morning at 6:30.
In the newspaper, I can see the complaints coming from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age just from Celebrity MasterChef.
Oh, no, Greg. Oh, no. If you weren't watching the last hour, Isabel's assessment was that Greg had potentially been up in the night, you know, stewing over these allegations. And when the sun rose, he recorded that clip.
And posted it against probably better advice. Let's get some thoughts from Fraser Myers, Deputy Editor of Spike. Good morning. Do you think that was a good decision, posting that, or has he dug his hole even deeper?
I think, judging by some of the front pages today, it was not a good decision.
Like
the Sun telling him
yeah.
to shut his cake hole.
Yeah.
Disaster chef, another good headline. And the Star saying, "You've in a hole, stop digging." That's their free PR advice. I think what this shows is that actually something that Emma Kennedy was suggesting, who made some allegations against him. She says she doesn't think that he's malicious. She doesn't think that he's a sexual predator, but he's someone that clearly just doesn't read the room and understand what's inappropriate and what is appropriate. And you get the sense that, you know, there is often sometimes a banter defence for the kind of remarks that he was making. But you would think, like, if people don't laugh, stop doing it. That would be my, you know, advice. Sometimes... there's no excuse for bad banter if people aren't finding it funny.
What about the BBC and all this? They're being accused of a cover-up. There's this alleged mutiny now building. Is this yet another example of the BBC not doing enough, or even, dare I say it, deliberately, you know, side-passing complaints of bad behaviour to cover their own backs?
Well, it seems as if some of the earlier allegations, like in 2012, didn't seem to go anywhere, even when complaints were raised. But the BBC, in its defence, will say two things. One, it did actually have a word with Greg Wallace in 2017 and in 2018. And also, it's actually not the direct responsibility of the BBC, because he's not contracted them. It's to do with an independent production company. But certainly it's true to say that there is a sense that when it comes to any kind of allegation of poor behaviour, when it involves some of the biggest stars, then perhaps it's not taken as seriously as it might otherwise be. You know, we saw, for instance, Gary Lineker breaking social media rules. That took a long time to build up and finally came to a head recently. We've seen allegations against stars of Strictly Come Dancing. Although it should be said, you know, in that case with Giovanni, many of the most serious allegations after the investigation were not upheld. So the physical aggression allegations were not upheld. Could that also be the case with Greg Wallace? He's entitled to an investigation. He's entitled to maintain his innocence, and he says, while I don't think he'd deny some of the banter allegations, he says very explicitly, you know, he does not engage in any kind of sexual harassment. He deserves to be treated as innocent until the results of those investigations come forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the allegations from these middle-class women, which I think Dawn made an interesting point that, you know, perhaps he's right. They are the middle-class women who are speaking out, but perhaps because they've got the confidence and, I suppose, the sort of financial backdrop to feel they can rock the boat. As Mimir saying that she wrote a letter just to clear her conscience because she just didn't feel comfortable with what she'd witnessed, saying that his behaviour did not meet sexual harassment and bullying standards. And, you know, there's also an anonymous contestant from the show who said that they had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but that they witnessed a toxic environment. I mean, you know, all of this, it doesn't paint a rosy picture, does it? I mean, is there going to be a comeback here?
Yeah, I mean, interesting that contestant who was talking anonymously says that actually Greg Wallace wasn't the only problem on the show, that there was a sort of broader culture of, she calls it abuse, maybe that, that might be a bit far, but essentially it seems like actually she's saying that Greg is being made out as a kind of scapegoat for a bigger problem in that environment. I mean, it is sometimes fair to say that when you're working on a very popular television show, reality show, it's a high-pressure environment. Some people react to that by making jokes, cracking wise. Other people don't do that. Could there be an explanation there? Is that why the culture was the way that it apparently was? It's not clear. I think calling out, middle-aged, middle-class women was such a, it's funny. It's definitely dragged the story on. But it's dug the whole 10 times deeper for him.
I hope he didn't pay for that advice.
Pretty sure he didn't.
The 6:30 a.m. posting of the video suggests that there wasn't advice before that went out.
Oh,
the problem is for Greg, even if he's totally cleared of all these allegations, in the court of public opinion, I think he's now finished regardless.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way back.
Well, especially given that it's light entertainment and it's supposed to be sort of welcoming this person into your home.
Yeah.
Will he be welcome again? We should stress Greg Wallace's lawyers are strongly denying that he engaged in sexually harassing behaviour, and the BBC said it will always listen if people want to make us aware of anything directly.
OK, let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
The US President Joe Biden has issued an official pardon for his son Hunter, saying he was unfairly prosecuted. He pleaded guilty to tax charges earlier in September and was found guilty of being an illegal drug user in possession of a gun in June. President Biden said in a statement last night that politics has infected this process and led to a miscarriage of justice.
More than 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister in July, hitting that key milestone in just 5 months. However, the PM accused the Conservatives of, quote, opening the borders and promised to cut numbers after a record high asylum costs of £5 billion. It also comes as 50 people have died attempting the journey this year, making 2024 the deadliest year on record.
Russia's new defence budget, described as the most secretive since the Soviet era, has sparked fresh warnings, with a third of it being kept under wraps. Vladimir Putin has just signed off a huge 25% increase, pushing military spending to nearly a third of the entire Russian budget.
And 77-year-old music legend Elton John has announced he's lost his eyesight. He made the shock announcement at the opening of his new musical, The Devil Wears Prada, yesterday evening in London. Speaking during the curtain call, Elton told the audience he hadn't been able to see the performance, but I love to hear it.
I'm not clear if he's lost his eyesight permanently, if he's now registering as blind, or if he's saying that at the moment he can't see. I know he's been suffering with this eye infection. Fingers crossed it's temporary, because, of course, he's got beautiful children. He wants to see them grow up.
Oh, gosh.
And, of course, all of his work. He wanted to see the show.
I know. I think it sounds permanent.
It sounds very permanent, but I just wasn't sure by the language, saying he's lost his sight. He hasn't said he's turned blind or...
Yeah. Well, best wishes to him and his kids, and David Furnish as well. It's going to be fairly chilly in the next couple of days. I think -7 in some parts, probably Scotland, as always. Sorry
chilly
about that.
already where we are, according to you, though.
Well, it was. You told me to man up this morning, so I said it was cold.
I think it was about 5 degrees. But anyway, Ellie Glazier, tell us just exactly where to expect the worst of it.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been a bit of a chillier start for many of us this morning, with colder weather on the way for all of us as we head over the next couple of days. Back to what we've got out there at the moment, though. A chilly start across parts of Scotland, some sleet and snow showers across the very far north, sinking their way southwards. And across northern parts of England, outbreaks of showery rain sink their way towards the southeast as we head towards the afternoon. For Northern Ireland, Wales, southwestern parts of England, though, plenty of sunshine through the afternoon, plenty of blue skies on offer, but with northerly winds feeling much colder than over the weekend. Only 10 or 11 degrees in the south and 5 or 6 further north, and with some brisk northerly winds along eastern coast, feeling colder here through the afternoon too. As we then go into Monday evening, the outbreaks of showery rain across the southeast do linger for a time, but eventually clear their way offshore as we go through the evening. For southwest England, parts of Wales, generally staying dry through the evening, maybe 1 or 2 showers around, and perhaps 1 or 2 showers for Northern Ireland too. For northern England, parts of Scotland generally staying drier to end the day. Plenty of clear spells around. 1 or 2 isolated showers still across northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Again, these turning to sleet and snow in places. Those brisk northerly winds do continue along eastern coast, perhaps 1 or 2 showers here overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. But for most of us, it'll be turning drier overnight with plenty of clear spells, and light winds will mean it turns quite chilly as we start on Tuesday morning. Quite a widespread frost across the UK, down below 0 across much of Scotland and northern England, and even in the south, only around 2 or 3 degrees for many of us. So a chilly start to the day across much of the UK on Tuesday, but quite a bright start, plenty of sunshine to start the day. However, quickly turning cloudy across western areas as we see this weather front arriving, pushing its way eastwards as we go towards Tuesday afternoon, turning to sleet and snow over the hills across northern parts of the UK through Tuesday afternoon. Another chilly day to come for many of us, only 4 or 5 degrees in the north and around 9 or 10 in the south, so around average for the time of year.
Woo! A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
OK, time now for the Great British Giveaway. A whopping £50,000 in tax-free cash could be in your bank account. It's the biggest cash prize we've ever given away, and it could be yours. Here's all the details you need to win.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God. That's a big surprise. Oh my God. This is amazing. I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
For your chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Now let's get stuck into some politics. We're joined now by the Conservatives. We have the Shadow Paymaster General, Richard Holden. Good morning, Mr Holden. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I wonder if we could start by just asking about the breaking news.
Good morning. Delighted to be on with you.
Thank you. Lovely to have you. Can we start with the breaking news overnight relating to President Biden's son, Hunter? Now, he has given him a presidential pardon, an absolute pardon, which I believe covers all possible future misdemeanours as well. Is this just undermining the whole judicial process? It's not something we would ever really do here, is it?
No, it's certainly something that we don't do here. We have that proper separation of the judiciary here in the UK. Look, the Americans have their own system. I know President Trump did some pardoning of people when he was in. President Biden has. All different presidents have. But it's definitely not something that we're looking to ever be introducing here in the UK.
Can I ask you, please, about these stories emerging over the weekend that there is fear in the Conservative Party that Elon Musk over in America could donate as much as $100 million, around £70 million sterling, to your rivals at Reform UK. Is there fear within the Conservative Party about that?
Well, I would say to anybody who's thinking of donating to Reform, exactly what I said to people during the general election. If you vote or support Reform, all you're going to do is help Labour. I think that's very clear from what we saw in the general election. It played out in seats, in hundreds of seats across the country, and ended up with Labour getting that supermajority. So I'd say exactly the same to Elon Musk. I'd say, look, if you want to see Keir Starmer out of office, then more broadly, whether it's yourself or anybody else, you've got to support the Conservatives. It's us who are head-to-head with Labour in those realistic fights up and down the country. That's the message I would give. And I think it's a really important one as well at this moment in time, because we're seeing this Labour government absolutely collapsing on all those key issues right across the board. We're seeing another relaunch today. We've had the missions, we've had the pledges. Now we don't even know what we're going to get on Thursday. All we do know, though, is that Labour, when it comes to the budget, are taking it out on British business, they're taking it out on pensioners, they're taking it out on our farmers and food security. So there's a lot that we've got to fight back on in Parliament, and we're going to be holding them to account on that with our debates on Wednesday. We're going to be forcing them into those votes, and I really hope that some Labour MPs think again.
I just wanted to pick up, before we go into some of the details about the reset coming this week from Labour, just more on this Musk-Farage situation. I mean, at the moment, it's against the law for foreign investors, parties, to donate huge amounts of capital to people's political ambitions in this country. There could be a workaround in this case because, of course, Musk has X in this country, a British arm of it, and he would be able to donate potentially that way. Do you think that that is acceptable? Do you think that there should be workarounds? Do you think that foreign individuals should be able to get involved in the British political system?
So my understanding is that foreign individuals can't get involved, but if businesses are legitimately making money in this country, then if their board approves it, then they can donate funds. But as I said just before, look, it's quite clear to me that the next election is going to be, you're going to see either Kemi Badenoch as Prime Minister, or you're going to see Sir Keir Starmer and his cabinet of cronies remaining as Prime Minister. And it's going to be a very similar, in some ways, to that choice as at the last general election. And we saw what happened then. So I'd say to anybody who wants to get rid of Keir Starmer, you've got to vote Conservative. Obviously, over the next couple of years, we're going to be further outlaying our policies. We can see the direction of travel we're taking now. That really strong pushback against Labour in Parliament and on the media, and we're going to take the fight to them every step of the way.
OK, Richard, let me just ask you about these comments from Keir Starmer at the tail end of last week. He accused your party of running a one-nation open borders experiment. He's not wrong, is he?
Well, I mean, we can see exactly what's happened with immigration under Keir Starmer's watch. I don't think it'll come as a surprise to any GB News viewers at all. We've seen immigration soaring, more than 20,000 illegal arrivals already under Labour's watch. That's more than at any point from a similar period previously. Now they're blaming the weather. Obviously, that's got some impact. You know, if there are choppy seas, people can't cross. But when you take the year as a whole, it's quite clear that under Labour we're seeing at least a 15, I think, up to 20% increase in the equivalent.
I think he was talking about legal migration.
Years. We obviously had our Rwanda scheme, which Labour scrapped before we could even get it off the ground, which had provided that proper deterrent. And without a deterrent, you cannot deal with the issue. And it also looks like Labour are basically, as part of this, junking one of those, I think it was one of those missions that Starmer said, which was to end illegal immigration, alongside junking his pledge to make Britain the fastest growing economy in the G7. Wherever you turn, Labour are backtracking, U-turning, and we've got to hold them to account, and we've got to provide that competent opposition, and therefore then that platform for government down the line.
We are expecting this big speech from the Prime Minister this week, this reset. He's going to be focusing on 5 particular areas, and lots of people saying that it reminds him a little bit of when Rishi Sunak came out and made his 5 pledges, and we all know how that ended up being quite a politically naive move on his behalf. He was used to always succeeding and achieving everything he set out to do, and it just turned out he couldn't stop the boats. It was such a nebulous phrase, and, you know, ultimately he did not succeed in doing that. So are you watching on thinking, oh, gosh, I don't know why you're coming out and making these pledges? It's a lot harder to do than it might sound.
What I would say on that is that when at the back end of 14 years of coalition and then minority Conservative and then majority Conservative government after COVID and everything, I think it was pretty clear, especially with the infighting in the Conservatives at the time, that people had stopped listening to us. But that was after 14 years. It feels a very strange situation that after 14 weeks and already, I think, 17 relaunches of his own of his own policies since he became leader, but 14 weeks as Prime Minister, Keir Starmer is having to do a major relaunch. Now, we had an issue, I think, in government that people had stopped listening. I think it's quite clear that people are listening to Keir Starmer and they're really not liking what they hear, whether it's pensioners losing their winter fuel payment just as winter starts to bite, whether it's businesses and charities up and down the country seeing huge additions to their wage bill, costing jobs with that national insurance tax hike, or whether it's just working people who are going to see their wages cut and going forwards because of those national insurance tax rises as well, or whether it's our farmers who are being hammered. And we're going to keep holding the government to account. We've got votes on Wednesday this week. I hope MPs from all sides of the House will be there to hold this Labour government that is failing to account and not let them get away with this ridiculous relaunch.
As will we, Richard. We've got the government coming on a little bit later on this morning. Thanks very much. Interesting, he didn't manage to stop the boats, but Rishi Sunak did manage to stop them listening. That was the Shadow Paymaster General, Richard Holden. Thanks very much indeed for your time this morning.
Yeah, and of course, Labour would say £22 billion black hole. That's why we've had to do all these things and reset.
Well, it was actually really interesting. I had a chat with the former Chancellor last night.
Yeah. What was he like?
Lovely to chat to, yeah. And Jeremy Hunt was telling me that he realised and has realised since the budget that Rachel Reeves, his successor as Chancellor, is not New Labour, as she claimed during the election, but actually she is old Labour.
There we go.
What you will.
Another porky. And what about that £22 billion black hole? Is he still in private insisting that was the case? That's absolute rubbish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. Last time I spoke to Jeremy Hunt, I doorstepped him about COVID and shoved a microphone in his face. So I saw him last night and kind of sheepishly scuttled away. But, yeah, funny.
He's very nice. Very nice.
Seems like a nice chap.
Right, still to come, police officers say they feel like lambs to the slaughter over Notting Hill Carnival. Is it time to cancel the event? We'll be debating that right here on GB News in a moment.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets at My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring. Not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, we're talking about the Notting Hill Carnival now. Have you ever been?
No, and I don't want to go either. It looks like chaos.
I've been, but many, many years ago, and I had a great time. It was fabulous.
Was it? I bet it was probably a lot different then than it is
Probably,
now.
yeah.
It just looks so busy. There's videos of people being cramped and squashed.
I think there's different parts of it, and different. You know, late at night, probably as the weekend cumulatively goes on and people have had more to drink and less sleep, then it's probably less enjoyable. But sort of Sunday morning, Sunday lunchtime, it's pretty enjoyable. Anyway, well, the Metropolitan Police have said it's an absolute nightmare, basically, to police. They've described it as hell, claiming the event feels like working in a war zone.
Yeah, I think it looks it as well. Around 90% of the officers surveyed said they have felt unsafe whilst working there.
Well, the annual celebration that's run for more than 50 years has been dubbed Europe's biggest street party.
OK, we'll hopefully soon be joined by GB News star Nana Akweer to discuss this. Oh, she's here. Good morning, Nana. Thank you for joining us. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I see the crime stats, I see the stabbings and, unfortunately, some years fatalities as well. And there is this argument that it should maybe be moved to, say, I don't know, Hyde Park or Victoria Park. What's your take?
Well, I mean, I've been to Carnival many times. The first time I went, I was working for a radio station and I didn't realise we had an enclosed area. It was wonderful. It was amazing. I went a couple of times working for different stations. That's when they had all the stages. And then finally, I went as a member of the general public and I was horrified. I was lifted off my feet by the crowd towards, well, you know, those steel drum type things, towards a boiling steel drum full of jerk chicken. In fact, I mean, had it not been for the partner I was with at the time, I probably would have been branded by that hot drum. And eventually we were pulled out of the area and over a wall because we were so close to the walls. And I said to myself, I will never go there ever again. I was almost killed that day. And the problem I have with it is the fact that there is no real ability for the police to actually police it properly. They have no way of containing it. They have no way of catching people if they actually do something very bad. And it's an opportunity for those who want to take advantage of those things.
Yeah.
And I have an issue with that because I think potentially the police themselves are in grave danger at that event.
And it's very difficult to police because of the nature of the winding streets in Notting Hill. I've got friends who say that every time the carnival comes round, they leave London for the whole bank holiday because it's just not worth it. You can't get about and it's actually quite frightening. Should it be moved to Hyde Park? Or surely not, Nana, are you calling for it to be cancelled?
Well, I'm calling for it to either be moved, and if they refuse to have it moved, then I would cancel it, frankly, because 5 people were stabbed this year. There were hundreds of officers. There were over 35 officers in one day hurt. That's on the final day. 334 people were arrested. The total is 8 people were stabbed, in total. 3 of them were left with life-threatening conditions. 2 people died, and these were in separate attacks during the event this year. And I just don't think it's worth it for those poor people who got involved in these awful incidents, probably through no fault of their own. And I remember last year when I wrote a piece for the Daily Mail, people were running through the streets with machetes. Now, if you have that in a contained area where you can actually control what's going in and out, then you can potentially stop people from going in there with weapons. So in my view, yeah, I think it's a great celebration, but either if the organisers don't accept that, the police themselves are telling them that this is really dangerous and that they don't want to police it and they're scared to be part of it, then I think the organisers need to really listen. Otherwise, they should pay for their own security and get their own security there, and perhaps some of them could potentially police it themselves if they really think it's that easy.
Nana, what do you reckon's happened then in society over the, I'd say, 20 years? Because Isabel just said, when did you go, Izzy?
Well, I'm trying to think how old I was. It was probably 20 years ago, but I do remember having an absolute ball.
Did you see any of the crime and the stabbings?
I saw no crime, and my little cousin was 8. We went along together. I was dancing in the street. I had paint all over me. It was really, vibrant, happy occasion. Look, you see children in all of these pictures. It looks perfectly lovely there. But I do believe, Nana, it's late at night, under the influence of drink and drugs, that things go a bit sketchy.
Well, look, there are some really good events there. Like I think it's Dover or something, where everyone runs through the streets in Notting Hill very early in the morning, and they throw bits of paint at each other and stuff like that. I mean, that was quite good fun. Although obviously having paint chucked at you, you've got to go there with a plastic bag over you and stuff like that to keep yourself from to stop you from having your clothes destroyed. And there are some fun traditions for it, and I love all that. But the problem is the fact that it cannot be policed in the area that it is in, and it has grown beyond what it was intended, I think. And because of that, I think it becomes a dangerous place, especially late at night, where it's literally impossible to police. How on earth the police do it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nana, thank you. Freddie London on Your Say's just said, if we allow the banning of the Notting Hill Carnival, it's a slippery slope to banning other things. Move it to a contained area like Hyde Park with airport-style security. Now, I have to say, I do agree. If we start banning things...
But if this was, say, a centre-right protest once a year or once a week, and there was 5 stabbings every year, and there were people dying, it would be banned. Wouldn't it?
Well,
let's be honest. If it was an anti-migration protest and there was 5 people getting stabbed every time that the protest was held or the festival was held, it would be banned, no problem. Andy, on Your Say, you say, yes, the Notting Hill Carnival should be banned. It's an excuse for an open, drug-invested, criminal, murderous party at taxpayers' expense. Billy, you say, yes, cancel the carnival. The animal's grown too big. The cost of policing is eye-watering and the crimes committed during it often go unreported.
There we go. Well, Carnival Limited said we value the vital contribution to Carnival of all police officers, including those from the City of London and British Transport Police. But this survey, they say, is hugely flawed. It is quite clearly written with an anti-Carnival agenda that the Police Federation highlights every year. It's driven by unsubstantiated quotes and little solid data designed to create negative headlines.
Interesting. Sounds like it's a very defensive statement. No nod to the actual stabbings or crimes that do take place at Carnival. Anyway, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, bit of a gear change. We're hearing from church ministers across the country. Each day they have a very special message for you to celebrate the festive season.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 2.
My name's Marcus. I'm a priest in the Church of England. Imagine trying to walk through a room that is completely dark. As you try and feel your way around, you're bumping into things, tripping over things, and making a complete mess in the process. Without light, we cannot see the truth about things. We end up getting confused, disorientated, and lost in the dark. Maybe this is how you feel in a spiritual sort of sense. When we are spiritually in the dark, we don't know who we are, where we are from, or where we are going. Evil becomes good, and good becomes evil. As we approach Christmas and all the Christmas lights go up, a light has dawned in the darkness. With the birth of Jesus Christ, he came to earth to shed a light on the truth about God and about life, which means we no longer have to walk in darkness. Jesus tells us in John chapter 8, verse 12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never have to walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. This is Emmanuel, God with us.
Oh, that's lovely.
Very sweet.
I like that. You can see all of our special Advent messages as Christmas approaches by visiting gbnews.com/Advent.
I think we've got a different priest each day, right?
Different priest each day. And do you know what? It's just nice to remember what it's all about. It's not all about the trees and the baubles and the presents, believe it or not, much as we love it. There is a really uplifting, fantastic message, whether you choose to believe in it or not. There is, a lesson for us all in there, I think.
And I think even if you're not religious, there's some good, I've always said it, there's some good, what do they call it? You're a social Christian. I don't think that's the right. I've butchered that. But you're taking the lessons of Christianity and the good values, you know, just be a decent person, be sharing and loving. Even if you're not religious, it's a nice time to remember that. And also spend time with the family, if you can bear them.
Yeah, ask again after Christmas.
Yeah.
Anyway, still to come, Paul Coit will be here. He will take us through all the sports. There's plenty of it. See you in a moment for that.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Yorkshire, the A650 is closed each way along Shipley-Adele Road in Bradford for an investigation. On the M60 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed anti-clockwise where someone's broken down between junctions 12 and 11. From the Eccles interchange to Barton, causing delays. Trains have been stopped between Hooton and Ellesmere Port because of an obstruction on the line. In Norfolk, the A1101 is closed the Wash at Welney because of flooding. There's a reduced rail service between Rugby and Euston Station in London because of emergency engineering works at Northampton. Trains have been stopped between Cambridge and Letchworth Garden City because of a faulty train. The M1 in Bedfordshire is partly blocked southbound by a breakdown on the entry slip road at junction 10 at Luton Airport with delays from junction 11. And the A1M in Hertfordshire is blocked northbound by an accident just before junction 9 at Letchworth, causing delays in both directions.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We were just having a heated debate about all the things that are wrong with dogs, which is a bit harsh, isn't it? There is a reason for this. Obviously, talking about Christmas this morning, and Coity was just telling us a story about Dudley.
Yeah, and you were
Christmas lights.
Oh, I'll save that. I'll tell you in a minute. You want to know it now?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
OK, so I think when Dudley was a puppy, anyway, we put the Christmas tree up, thinking, I hope everything's going to be all right. Went upstairs, heard a bang and like that, and then this noise, and I was like, oh my. The dog's dead. I'm going to have to run. And I thought, what am I going to see? The kids are on the dog's dead. Anyway, Dudley was sort of like looking a bit confused and the Christmas tree lights were out. So all I know is that he'd obviously bitten through it.
Was he electrocuted?
But now, yeah, I think he did get a bit of a shock.
Serves him right.
Oh, yeah.
Steady on.
Come on.
Steady dog.
So he's a dog.
Wouldn't see cats doing that.
You're starting with me, Ben. It's taken a little while. But listen, but what's good is that now Dudley keeps away from the tree.
Oh, good lad. Yeah. He's still alive and kicking then, the old
He
Dudley.
is, yeah.
How old is he now?
Dudley is 11 now.
Aww.
And but Nellie's skipping away.
Sorry. Sorry, that was just joining in. I don't mean it.
I'll tell you what, be your last Christmas. And you can't
quite right. I deserve that.
Right,
I
FA
deserve
Cup
that. By
third
the way,
round.
I love Dudley.
FA Cup, yeah, you can't make up for it. Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
FA Cup's going to be his last Christmas. That's just the worst
It could
thing.
be, though.
Can you imagine
Like-
saying that about, like, your parents? As, oh, it could be last Christmas.
No, but I think like that. I do think like that.
Do you?
Yeah, I always think we've got to make sure it's a good one, just in case.
That's awful.
It's quite old for a dog, isn't it? 11.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes, but he's a very sprightly 11. Yeah, he's
He
fine.
keeps munching your Christmas lights.
Yeah, OK, fine. Well,
Right.
Bring him
FA
round to
Cup.
your house anyway. FA Cup third round draw.
Yeah.
Non-league teams get involved in this. There's Tamworth, there's Bromley. It's the old... I tell you, I was involved in an FA Cup draw once.
Were you?
But I wasn't... I think... and it was with the FA, and it was the FA Cup, it was the FA trophy. And I had to, because they have the bag of balls, they bring out the big velvet bag, and you have to... And apparently I didn't take it seriously enough.
Doesn't sound like you.
I know. I wonder what happened. It's all making sense anyway. But anyway, the draw is they used to do it in the old style. They'd have the two old boys from the FA go, number 35, Tottenham Hotspur will play. And it will be on TV, so it's 7 o'clock tonight. So all the big teams... Arsenal obviously will get a home draw against a non-league side, as they usually
won't be in
do.
there then if it's just the
Spurs
big
will be
teams.
away to Liverpool. But anyway, the draw's going to be made tonight at 7 o'clock.
30 seconds on the F1. Max Verstappen having a go at George Russell.
Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it? I mean, he called Mercedes George Russell two-faced and said he's lost all respect for him. It's all to do with... He lost pole position for the race and he blamed George Russell, saying that he was going to the authorities and saying it's not fair because he was this. And he says he's always been polite in front of the cameras. In person, he's completely different. I can't stand that. I don't want anything to do with him. It sounds like me, doesn't it? I know, but in front of the cameras, he's always like that. Yeah. But apparently, according to Verstappen, he's a nasty piece of work.
I do hate two-faced, like, you know, when people have a fake public persona.
How long have you been working in television?
I know. It still shocks me.
I know.
It does still shock me.
But that's some people.
That's some people.
Bernie Ecclestone has got a wonderful collection. Maybe we'll have to do that in the next day. Are we too busy now?
We can do it
Can we have a little look?
Go on then, a very quick look. Ooh,
Go on, you better have a look at this.
It's 45
Bernie
already.
Ecclestone.
I'll go on then, just because it's you.
Bernie Ecclestone is going to sell his collection of F1 cars, Ben. I know this is interest you. Ran F1, 69 cars.
Wow.
Over 70 years. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, Sterling Moss's car, Ascari, Senna, Lauda, Piquet. How much do you think for his collection, are they saying?
What, total or...?
150 million.
Yeah, you're pretty close on that.
Really?
Yeah. I think we're talking about 300 million. There you go, it's on there.
Oh,
300 million quid. Look at all those.
Is he short of a bob or two?
Yeah, I don't think he ever will be, will he?
All right, Coity, thank you. Good
Anyway,
stuff.
It's 96, so hopefully... Well, let's not talk about that, shall we?
OK, great.
Dog ears.
Oh, I see. Got you. Oh,
yeah.
dear. Poor Dudley. Sorry about that.
Sorry, Dud.
Right, stay with us. We're going through the papers. We've got Chris Akabisi and Dawn Neeson. See you in a moment.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
A Tesco store on a Scottish island has defied locals by ignoring pleas to stay closed on Sundays.
Tesco's has said that no member of staff in Stornoway would be forced to work on a Sunday and that it had received a significant amount of positive reaction to its plans.
Well, let's talk now to the Minister of the Reformed Presbyterian Church, Reverend Kenneth Stewart. Good morning to you, Reverend Stewart. You're trying to keep Sunday special, and if Tesco are going to open up, that means it won't be quite as special for you.
Well, yes, good morning, and thanks for having me on. Yes, Tesco, for some reason, they claim it's not economic advantage, but for some reason they've decided to go against hundreds of years of tradition on this island and the deeply held religious convictions of many, many people, including, of course, their own customers who are really grieved by this decision. We come obviously from the standpoint that a day of rest is effectively mandatory. It's a human right, along with the other 10 commandments which have undergirded our moral and legal fabric in society. It actually enshrines the human right to a day of rest. And Of course, in the UK, that's been eroded for many, many years. Incidentally, it's still far more respected on the continent. But for us here, the Sabbath or the day of rest has been very, very important. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. And for some reason, Tesco have decided just to go against that.
And Reverend Stewart, we were actually talking about this earlier, how in European countries, I mean, even in France, which is a secular country, still very few shops will open on a Sunday.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back. We're going through Making the News with Chris Akabisi and Dawn Newsom. Sorry, I didn't know who was speaking.
I was waiting for you, sorry.
Fine, that's
I was being polite.
Where should we start? Should we crack on with... Well, you choose. Go on.
We were just talking about tipping in the delivery.
Maybe not,
yeah. So we're talking about tipping as in fly tipping, or are we talking about tipping as in hairdresser, restaurants?
No, yeah, restaurants, bars, hotels...
Delivery drivers.
Well, this is it, and you're just introduced. So I've just started, and because I've been banned from driving for 6 months... Although I'll get my licence back in a week's time.
What have you done?
Oh, totting up too many points, yeah, naughty. Yeah.
Well, you do have cars that are designed to go fast.
Yeah, well, listen, I try to use that as an excuse. Yeah. The judge wasn't having it.
There you go. You've done the time.
Yeah, Mr. Akabisi, you might have been king of the track, but we're king of the road. Get off it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, back to tipping.
Yeah.
So I didn't realise. So I've been having a retail store deliver the groceries to my house. And so, do you think I'm expected to tip them?
Well, I would. My wife has a go at me all the time for tipping delivery drivers, takeaway people. She says, stop tipping them. But yeah. I feel obliged to. Do you?
No, not a prayer. I pay the company to deliver my goods. I've got a tip on the side of that bill to deliver the goods. So the guy's doing his job. But anyway, the story here is about tipping American style. Yeah. So in America, on your bill, straight away, 10, 15, 20% on your bill. In the UK, it's discretionary. So I do tip when I'm at a restaurant. I don't tip when I'm in a bar. If you're having a jar, I don't tip in a jar.
I don't have any cash on me.
But now, for example, you look lovely. You do your nails and stuff. Yeah. Do you tip the?
Well, I don't, but I've known them for forever, and I give them presents at Christmas and things like that. But I'd feel embarrassed to give someone a couple of coins at the end of a. You know what I mean? It's
well, now there's something called summing up. You get the sum up. Obviously, sum up. Well, a lot of the time now, apparently, come across from America, it's on there already. Yeah. So if you're in a restaurant and you've had your service, and on your... I don't check my bill. When I was married, my wife did, but I don't check my bill. So, but now, it could have sum up 15, 20% on that bill, so you pay for it already.
I find it more often than not, it is automatically added.
Yeah, it is. In most restaurants will add an...
And I don't mind it.
Have you ever asked for it to be removed because the service hasn't been good? I've been with people who've done that. It's pretty embarrassing.
It takes a lot of bravery to do it.
Yeah, but quite often it's been poor service, and then they're expecting 15% of a bill of goodness knows how much.
Yeah.
I also don't like tips being shared. I'm tipping that waitress or waiter.
Yeah.
I don't want them shared.
What about the chefs?
Yeah, I know. Well, I guess that's the territory of the job, though, isn't it? If you're a chef, you expect...
So now you're back to the territory of the job, which I said back to the beginning with the retailer. The job's your job. Do you get tip feed? So does someone say, hey, you know what? Great gig this morning, Ben.
Wouldn't
Boom!
Be it.
Boom! Here you go, Ben.
It's a new section.
Does anyone do that?
No, I just get cups of teas made for me. That's good enough for me. But my this said, my delivery driver, he drops off takeaways and so on. I tip him, and my wife says not to because he always has such an awful look on his face. He looks down at the tip I give him. I'll give him a £5 or something, which I think's all right. It's quite generous.
Yeah.
And he looks down And he looks up.
I was just surprised you're giving him a tip.
And then he sort of laughs and goes, thanks, and walks off. I'm like, my wife says, stop tipping this particular man. I'm sorry if you're watching, but I don't know what
Right, let's talk about Panto season. Obviously, we're regular with Biggins on this.
We shouldn't.
Yeah, he's saucy, isn't he, that Biggins? So what's this story in the Mail about theatre bosses giving warnings to audiences?
It had to happen. Pantos have been slapped with trigger warnings. The theatre bosses are warning audience to expect loud noises and some saucy jokes. It's a pantomime. What are you expecting? This particular story is from the Roses Theatre in Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire, and it is their performance of Cinderella. And they are saying that bringing anyone under the age of 5 or those who have a sensitive disposition may find some parts of the pantomime. In fact, don't roll your eyes like that.
But surely
Isabel.
under 5...
Everybody does that.
Under 5s just wouldn't get the jokes.
They don't
just
get
go
the
over their
jokes.
head.
No, I know. They just see the pretty lights and stuff.
Absolutely. I remember we was in the children's home. You know, well, you might not, but there was a thing called Carry On films.
Oh, love it.
And all the adults would be screaming and laughter, and I'm looking at it and thinking, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because like you said, all the double entendres way over my head.
So sweet. I like a bit of a double entendre
It's
myself.
fun. I mean, but, you know, it's just like... People are offended and upset by everything. It's a pantomime.
Exactly. What do you expect?
Ridiculous.
Watch out. There will be men dressed as women.
Oh, my God, yeah.
There will be people behind you. It's all very...
But this is, you know, just the week after the British Board of Film Classification put a warning on Wicked because it's discrimination against green-skinned people.
Oh, come on.
I mean...
Those two have ruined Wicked for me. It's my favourite musical, and they have absolutely butchered it. Have you seen the press junkets they've been doing?
Yeah, that's put me off.
Have you seen them?
No.
Oh, my God.
What is wrong with those women? I don't understand what's wrong with them. Why are they doing that? It's just weird.
Ariana Grande, I mean, she doesn't look well.
No, she doesn't look well. She's lost a lot of weight. I've seen that. But I must say, you said it's your favourite musical.
You don't like it? Oh, sorry, Les Mis is probably my favourite.
Les Mis, all day long, all day long.
Mamma Mia.
Bring him home.
Oh, I've not seen it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. I think Andrew's seen it like nearly 200 times.
You're boring.
Les Mis?
Yes.
No, come on, give me a break.
It's not people singing around flags. It's boring.
The whole
sad and boring.
dynamic, duty, pride, courage, love. I mean, it's absolutely got it all going on.
I don't really like musicals, but
I don't like musicals.
I like Mamma Mia. And I like Panto. Anyway, Biggins, don't start apologising for your jokes. That's all I'm going to say. How long have we got? Have we got time to squeeze in? 45 seconds, Dawn, that should be long enough to talk about women in their 50s exercising more than others half their age.
Yes, absolutely. The thinking behind it's a new survey, the thinking behind it is that older women are doing it for their health. You know, you get to a certain age, menopause kicks in, you are worried about your blood pressure, da-da-da-da-da. Whereas younger women don't exercise because, A, they think they're immortal and they don't need to, and B, they're worried about sort of like messing their hair up and getting too muscular. That's it in a nutshell.
Oh,
what about the older ladies? Oh, I've only got 10 seconds left. Are the older ladies not doing it to get younger men?
Be careful where
Cougars?
you're going with older ladies.
Absolutely right, Ben. I said that in the green room, baby. Look, baby. Look. Buddy.
Yeah. Boys, just shut up, right?
Right. OK, well, more on that next time with Chris and Dawn. Meanwhile, here's your forecast of Penny Glazier.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Scottish borders, the A702 is closed each way between Dolphinton and West Linton after an accident. In West Yorkshire, the A650 is closed each way along Shipley Airedale Road in Bradford after an accident. On the M60 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed anti-clockwise. Someone's broken down between junctions 12 and 11 from the Eccles interchange to Barton, causing delays. Train services are suspended between Hooton and Ellesmere Port because of an obstruction on the line. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, the inside lane's closed southbound where a lorry's broken down a couple of miles before junction 16 in Northampton with queues from the Watford Gap services. The A1M in Hertfordshire is closed northbound from junction 8 at Stevenage to 9 at Letchworth after an accident with queues in both directions. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash. We've made loads of winners this year, and you could be our next.
Hi, I'm Angela from Wigan, and I won £30,000 with the Great British Giveaway. It happens to people like me.
For your chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good to see you. Good morning. Mutiny is mounting at the BBC over the disgraced presenter Greg Wallace.
Anger within the organisation grows after it's revealed he remained on air despite at least 4 complaints against him.
Well, the BBC is now under pressure to explain why they didn't act sooner over the allegations against Wallace.
And across the pond, US President Joe Biden pardons his son Hunter, claiming he was unfairly prosecuted.
For who the bell tolls, Nigel Farage, alongside 9 others, are calling to radically reform or replace the World Health Organization. We'll be joined by the man himself in a few moments' time.
And the world's richest man, Elon Musk, is tipped to donate to Reform UK £78 million to help Nigel Farage into number 10. Could Elon Musk be the man to shake up British politics? We spoke to the Shadow Paymaster General, Richard Holden.
Say exactly the same to Elon Musk. I'd say, look, if you want to see Keir Starmer out of office, then more broadly, whether it's yourself or anybody else, you've got to support the Conservatives.
And it's one of our greatest traditions, the full English breakfast. Perhaps you're enjoying one as we speak. Well, celebrating a unique culinary tradition, today is its National Day, and we are going to be looking at the do's and don'ts of a great full English.
No hash browns, apparently.
Oh.
Elsewhere, police officers dubbed Notting Hill Carnival hell, saying they are treated like lambs to the slaughter. We're asking, is it finally time to ban the event?
Police have launched their annual drink drive campaign, deploying additional officers on patrol to catch drivers under the influence.
An Arctic blast is set to bring freezing temperatures across the country, dropping to as low as -7 in some parts.
It's been a chilly start for some of us this morning, with cold weather on the way for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later to find out all the details with the full forecast.
And the sport, Liverpool beat Manchester City, effectively ending their hopes of winning the Premier League title again. Max Verstappen wins a chaotic Qatar Grand Prix, and Judd Trump, as he wins the UK Snooker Championships, one of the sport's greats, passes away.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Ben Leo.
I'm Isabel Webster, and this is GB News Breakfast. Everybody's feeling rather festive with our new Christmas titles, complete with snowflakes. And look at all the baubles, Coity.
I think you're referring to me as the snowflake there.
Oh,
no.
never.
It looks lovely. I think it's great. I haven't gone early. I haven't gone too early. You know, and also, you notice real trees seem to last longer now than they used to. So if you get them up sort of around the start of December, then, because you don't want to get to the fact when you get to Christmas Eve and you've got like a stick with baubles.
Well, it feels like the one in Trafalgar Square always looks like it's dying before it's even begun.
You know, it's not just the tree, but the lights. They just have these lights, which are just on strings, just come down like that with a star on the top. It's so lame. same.
Have you seen down Regent Street and Oxford Street? For non-Londoners, it's the big shopping streets in London. Not one word of Christmas mentioned. Not one word of Jesus or Christianity.
Right.
It's Happy Holidays, or what was the cards? Oh, they call them magical wonder lights. For Christmas lights.
They're Christmas lights, for crying out loud. It used to be a tradition. I don't know whether they still do that when you'd around the home counties and people would travel in to go to Regent Street to see the lights. Does that still happen?
Yeah, people still go to do that.
And is there still the excitement about it, do you think?
I think so. I mean, Regent Street does do a good light display, and it's pretty amazing, but it feels like they do that from November onwards. But I think it's all about the pre-lit Christmas tree, where you don't have to worry about...
No.
It's a game changer.
Laziness.
No, it's not laziness. It's about being OCD. My tree has perfectly distributed lights.
Just explain again what pre-lit is, because I wasn't aware of it.
So you don't have to put the lights on the tree yourself. So it's a plastic tree, which actually pays for itself. It's quite expensive as an outlay, but then instead of having a real tree every year.
But putting them around... And also, do you have a tradition? When you do... See, Ben, if you have your pre-lit, but Ben, when do you put the lights on first or last, and then do you turn them on at the end for the big reveal?
Ben just sits on the sofa and watches.
I did it the weekend. My boys did it with my wife.
Right,
I was so tired from the working week. I was just watching on the settee. No, they did the lights.
Are you sitting there like going, put that one up there?
No, literally, I was. I missed the smell. We have a fake tree now, but I missed the smell of a real tree and the pines falling.
Yeah, love it. Always get a real tree. Love a real tree.
Wet puddle underneath at the end when you take it out of the bucket. Yes. I don't know.
We've gone from real trees and, a bit of organic material in your front room to
plastic,
to fake trees, and then pre-lit trees.
There you go.
It's getting worse every year.
Well, thank goodness I will keep the tradition going.
All right, Quoty, thank you. Right, let's talk about the World Health Organization, shall we? Action on World Health has commissioned the Bell Review, and they're launching that today.
It's made up of 9 experts who are recommending proposals to either radically reform or replace the World Health Organization.
And among those pushing for the changes is the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage. And a very good morning to you, Nigel. We've spoken about the problems within the World Health Organization with you before, but for anyone that's not familiar with it or up to date, just bring us up to speed with what it is that is irritating you about the WHO.
Well, it's a government body under the United Nations. The British government's just agreed in the last 2 weeks to give it a further £310 billion of taxpayers' money. Their performance during the pandemic was catastrophic. They insisted that the pandemic had come through the wet markets in China, not the fact that it was a leak from the lab in Wuhan. And they're a very heavily Chinese-influenced organisation. Now they've gone further, and on the table they've got something called the Pandemic Treaty, which, when it goes through in a year's time, will mean they can tell us that we have to lock down. They can tell us we have to have vaccine mandates. I mean, it's incredible that the Labour government is even considering signing up to this, given what a failure the organisation has been, and that would be a total loss of sovereignty over health issues. So yes, I've been campaigning against this for some time. It's not just us, though, because the incoming Trump administration also is deeply sceptical about the World Health Organization, the amount of power it wants, the bad decisions it takes, and the level of Chinese influence over it. So, yes, as you said in your intro, we're launching the Bell Review. Dr. David Bell, somebody who's worked at the WHO, along with 8 other senior medics, will produce a report suggesting how we can reform this organisation to make it one where governments cooperate as opposed to giving away power. And we want this to be seriously reformed, or we have to leave it and set something else up.
The World Health Organization have been quite adamant that this pandemic treaty is about cooperation, not about ceding power. They've accused you of spreading misinformation and using this as what they call, and I quote, a populist wedge issue. They deny that lockdown mandates are part of the deal, and they say any claims that countries would be required to give away 20% of their vaccines, they say, are simply not true.
Well, it's absolutely explicit in their proposed treaty. They couldn't get it through this year, but they're determined to bring it back next year. It's the same loss of sovereignty we had as members of the European Union. It's a Brexit-style argument, but this time it's around health. And frankly, you know, when you look at the pandemic and the 3 major lockdowns we had in our country, I think they proved to be, frankly, the worst peacetime decisions ever taken by a British government. No one's been properly held to account for the damage it's done to our young people, our old people, our health service. And the idea that a remote group of people, unaccountable to anybody, could lock us down in the future is just unacceptable and should be stopped. And yet, you know, when Labour are challenged, the government are challenged in the Commons, they deny the facts. They're there, they're real, they're clear. We're serious about this campaign, and I promise you, when I look at who Donald Trump has appointed to be his health supremos, they share the same skepticism as me. So if ever there was a moment to reform this organisation, with Trump coming in a few weeks' time, it's now.
Yeah, it seems quite poetic, the full circle the US has had with regards to their health leaders. You had Jay Bhattacharya, who's the head of the NIH, which was Anthony Fauci's job. And we all remember him during COVID, and of course RFK Jr. as well. In a reformed WHO, Nigel, where would the funding come from? Because you've expressed concerns about it coming from China. Bill Gates, of course, is a massive influence as well. Yeah. Where would funding from a reformed organisation come from?
Well, I think if we reformed it, then the Trump administration would happily play a role. We would happily play a role, as opposed to just giving away hundreds of millions with no questions asked. No, I mean, look, the argument for international cooperation is always a good argument. But the trouble is, all these globalist organizations, whether it's the EU, the UN, the WHO, they always use these situations to take power upon themselves. And that's what we've got to stop. And it's really a closed shop. This guy, Tedros, has been running it for years, despite having no medical history at all. His own sister is in a highly paid job. I mean, talk about jobs for the boys. No, this organization doesn't work. It failed during the pandemic in every single way. It covered up to protect China, and we should not be giving our hard-earned money to an organisation that wants to take our sovereignty.
Nigel, can I ask you, whilst we've got you, and talking about hundreds of millions of, whether it's dollars or pounds, these rumours, come on, you know I have to ask you, your pal Elon Musk that you spent election night with is rumoured to be about to donate $100 million US, I think that's 78 million pounds, in a big, and I quote, F you to Starmer. Is this true? Is it going to happen?
I have absolutely no idea where this story comes from. It was a Sunday Times journalist that rang me on Saturday with it. I have literally no idea about this at all. What I do know is that Elon Musk is very supportive of me, what I'm trying to do, and he thinks that if reform do well in the UK, we can bring about the same kind of change that he intends to do with Donald Trump in America. All of that is true. Yes, he is very supportive, but honestly, this idea of huge sums of money, well, let's put it like this. It hasn't been discussed with me.
Hasn't been discussed with you, but it's not a no. What about the fact that actually it's illegal for foreign activists to get involved in British politics, and it would have to be through his British arm of Twitter? Do you worry about the optics of that, or are you comfortable with that if this does prove to be true?
Look, I'm not giving you a yes or a no. I don't know. I suspect this is not true. Legally, companies operating in the UK can give money to UK political parties, but I think we're a very long way away from that. Look, if it did happen, well, that'd be great. But I think it's one of those, really very good, gossipy Sunday newspaper things. Let's see, but I rather doubt it.
Nigel, can I ask you about Hunter Biden? Joe Biden has said he will pardon him. That's despite, of course, denying he'd ever do such a thing earlier this year, I think on multiple occasions. Do you think Joe Biden got a whiff that maybe the incoming Trump administration was going to be going after Hunter and indeed other adversaries?
I suspect that Trump will be far less vengeful than the Democrats have been against him. It's just not his nature. He wants to get on and do stuff and reform and change America. But the idea that the pardon covers everything and anything that Hunter Biden has done over the course of the last 11 years, I think is truly extraordinary. And for Joe Biden to say that the prosecutions against Hunter were politically motivated, I mean, my goodness me, talk about pot catching, given what they put Trump through over the course of the last year or so. Now, this is the end, a dying Democrat regime, and Hunter gets away with it. Nothing in America surprises me. Let's just hope that Trump reforms. I'm going to keep using that word because it's vital. Let's hope Trump does attempt to reform the American judicial system, because it's no longer fit for purpose.
OK, Nigel, thanks very much for your company this morning. Appreciate it. Interesting.
Now, let's turn our attention, shall we, to a big issue over the Christmas period. Lots of excitement, of course, for most people, but some people not so lucky.
Yeah, latest government figures show that 159,000 children will be spending the festive season in temporary accommodation, and that's the highest number on record.
Some families will be spending the festive season homeless and trapped in overcrowded, damp and even unsafe housing.
OK, we're joined now by the head of community at Social Impact Barbecue, Joe Curtis. Good morning, Joe. Thanks for joining us. So, under what circumstances will these tens of thousands of children find themselves in temporary accommodation? Is it because they've got no families, for example? Just explain to us how the numbers are made up.
So I think those children will be with those families, and there'll be people from all different kind of backgrounds and walks of life. I think one of the things that we've seen from that time working with shelter is actually that anyone can be made homeless. It really isn't an issue that it kind of doesn't affect one person. So I think it'll be a real kind of mix.
It's interesting when you go out and about, and Ben's a dad as well, but when you see the world through the eyes of children, quite often when I'm walking around now, my children see homelessness in a way that I think we haven't really seen it. It certainly appears to be on the rise, doesn't it? And my kids are really upset to see people sleeping in doorways, begging. Is it on the rise? Is there, we're seeing these sort of growing encampments, not even far from where we work here, more and more people in tents, in sleeping bags. Is it on the rise? And if so, why?
So I think, sadly, the kind of information and the stats that we see from working with shelter do show that it is on the rise. And actually, I think you'll see, obviously, there's street homeless, but actually a lot of what shelter talked about is actually the kind of hidden homelessness. So actually the numbers are much higher than that. And actually, it's, like where you see people that are in a kind of temporary accommodation, that's obviously quite hidden. You can't necessarily see that. I mean, we've worked with shelter for a long time. We've worked with them since 2017. And we're trying to kind of work with them to highlight this issue and kind of highlight the reality of temporary accommodation for many of those families. So raising funds in store by selling the different products that we have, and kind of really kind of actually give a kind of almost a kind of a proactive way for people to actually try and support and actually kind of do something to actually kind of give back in this moment.
What kind of effect does it have on young children, particularly moving from place to place, from home to home, trying to find shelter? Any idea on the emotional effect it has? Any long-lasting side effects?
Yeah, so I think sadly, it can be really difficult, and I think the information that we see from shelter and the work that we're doing them at the moment, actually just really trying to highlight this issue of homelessness. We're actually trying to show some real stories. So at the moment, we're kind of using this concept of snow globes to actually highlight the reality is being kind of quite stark and actually can be very damaging on people's well-being. So we've taken stories working with shelter and the different families that they support, and we've kind of taken this concept of snow globes and almost flipped it on its head. Because I think when you think of snow globes and you think of Christmas, you really think of kind of really festive scenes, really kind of scenic, really idyllic. And actually, what we've done is we've actually taken real stories and we've kind of depicted those in models, which we're then putting on snow globes and displaying these in our stores to actually show the different kind of realities for people that are in temporary accommodation. And there's kind of really different sort of things. So we've seen things that highlight kind of issues with pests, things with the kind of space and the kind of overcrowding. And one of the stories that really hit me is one of the people that shared their story, Grace. Actually, she was placed in accommodation on the third floor of a hotel. As a wheelchair user, that meant that property was actually inaccessible for her because the lift was out of order and there were only stairs, which actually fundamentally, that for her and her family, that wasn't a kind of a suitable place for her to be staying.
Yeah, sad, isn't it? Sad. Joe Curtis, thank you very much. I think it was on Friday last week, Christmas, it just exacerbates the loneliness problems and the homelessness problems and children who are in abusive homes or haven't got accommodation.
Yeah.
It's a tough time of the year for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at some of the other stories making the headlines this morning, and we were just discussing this with Nigel Farage. Overnight, the American President Joe Biden has issued an official pardon for his son Hunter, saying that he was unfairly prosecuted. He pleaded guilty earlier to charges relating to being an illegal drug user in possession of a gun in June. President Biden said in a statement last night that politics has infected the process and led to a miscarriage of justice.
More than 20,000 migrants have crossed the Channel since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister in July, hitting that milestone in just 5 months. However, the PM accused the Conservatives of, quote, opening the borders and promised to cut numbers after record high asylum costs of £5 billion a year. It also comes as 50 people have died attempting the journey this year, making 2024 the deadliest on record.
And the 77-year-old music legend Elton John has announced that he's lost his eyesight. He made the shock announcement at the opening of his new musical, The Devil Wears Prada, yesterday evening in London. Speaking during the curtain call, Elton John told the audience that he hadn't been able to see the performance, but he said he loved to hear it.
OK, it's going to be very nippy, I think, in the next couple of days. -7 somewhere, Oop North, maybe a bit warmer down south. Oop North, that's my northern accent. Out of 10?
About 2.
Come on.
Up north.
Up north. Not Oop North.
Oop north.
No, Oop North.
Come on, northerners.
Depends where you're from.
Well, maybe. Right, let's have a look. Here's Ellie Glazier. Oop north.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been a bit of a chillier start for many of us this morning, with colder weather on the way for all of us as we head over the next couple of days. Back to what we've got out there at the moment, though. A chilly start across parts of Scotland, some sleet and snow showers across the very far north, sinking their way southwards. And across northern parts of England, outbreaks of showery rain sink their way towards the southeast as we head towards the afternoon. For Northern Ireland, Wales, southwestern parts of England, though, plenty of sunshine through the afternoon, plenty of blue skies on offer. But with northerly winds feeling much colder than over the weekend, only 10 or 11 degrees in the south and 5 or 6 further north, and with some brisk northerly winds along eastern coast, feeling colder here through the afternoon too. As we then go into Monday evening, the outbreaks of showery rain across the southeast do linger for a time, but eventually clear their way offshore as we go through the evening. For southwest England, parts of Wales generally staying dry through the evening, maybe 1 or 2 showers around, and perhaps 1 or 2 showers for Northern Ireland too. For Northern England, parts of Scotland generally staying dry to end the day, plenty of clear spells around. 1 or 2 isolated showers still across northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Again, these turning to sleet and snow in places. Those brisk northerly winds do continue along eastern coast, perhaps 1 or 2 showers here overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. But for most of us, it'll be turning drier overnight with plenty of clear spells, and light winds will mean it turns quite chilly as we start on Tuesday morning. Quite a widespread frost across the UK, down below 0 across much of Scotland and northern England, and even in the south, only around 2 or 3 degrees for many of us. So a chilly start to the day across much of the UK on Tuesday, but quite a bright start, plenty of sunshine to start the day. However, quickly turning cloudy across western areas as we see this weather front arriving, pushing its way eastwards as we go towards Tuesday afternoon, turning to sleet and snow over the hills across northern parts of the UK through Tuesday afternoon. Another chilly day to come for many of us, only 4 or 5 degrees in the north and around 9 or 10 in the south, so around average for the time of year.
Woo! A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed Heat Pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It is time now for our biggest and our greatest Great British giveaway.
You got that.
And this year, or even this time, it is £50,000 in tax-free cash.
Yes, it's the biggest cash prize we've ever given away, and it could be yours. Here's all the details you need to win.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For your chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Luck indeed. Wouldn't that be nice?
What would you do?
50 grand at this
50k.
time
What would you do?
Yeah.
Don't say something boring.
Save it.
No, I knew you were going to say that.
Invest it.
No.
Something boring.
I'll probably buy a racehorse.
Oh, for goodness sake, or a flash car, knowing you.
No, not cars. I'm not that
Not
fussed
into
about
cars.
cars.
Okay, good.
Racehorse. Still to come, Coity's here with all the sports news, including Liverpool. They played Man City last night. Was that better?
That was quite
better.
good, yeah.
Yeah, top of the table clash in the Premier League. Who won? Coity's here to reveal all in just a second.
Liverpool.
Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
This is a topic very close to my heart. I have become fully convinced that social media, smartphones are one of the primary causes of mental health problems in children and many other serious problems beside. Lots of governments are starting to talk about this, but the Australians are well ahead in their use of legislation. What do you think about this issue?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I've got 3 young children and I'm really concerned about... I mean, they're too young to be on social media, but I'm really concerned about what lies ahead for them. I'm not sure I support what Australia's doing, not because I don't think it's a good idea to ensure that age verification is right. I'm just not sure that the age 16 is appropriate. But that's progress. If we effectively, as I do, accept the point that we need some sort of control, then we can move to a proper debate about whether that's 16, 14, 13, whatever it may be. And, of course, there are age restrictions on things like Facebook. I think, from memory, it is 13.
Yes, but it's a tick box.
But it's a tick box, so all you can do is you can just knock. If you're 11 years old, you can just predate your date of birth by 2 years, and you can get on. I think what Australia is proposing is interesting because it will stop young people, maybe without their parents' knowledge, short-circuiting the system because they're going to be asking for proper age verification and ID. That's definitely something we should do in the UK because it's enforced in the existing law. Query, is 16 the right age, Miriam?
I completely agree with it. It's something I actually said should have been done before. And I think what is good about it is that for a long time, a lot of governments have been saying that the actual social media companies should take more responsibility, but they're not going to because it hurts their bottom line. The most voracious users are younger users. So they will pledge that, oh, I'll put the tick box in, but the kid is the one who's going to actually tick the box. So doing something like this is saying that, OK, we will put in legislation that damages your bottom line. And I think it will force the hand because they've said it's only 12 months and they will reevaluate it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Paul Coity is here with some sad snooker news.
Terry Griffiths, one of the greats. And one of the first, I think it was the first world title I remember as a child, won it in 1979. Again, he was a qualifier back then and went right through and won the world title. Beat Dennis Taylor, I remember, who was also a qualifier that year as well. Won the world title, and Terry's passed away at the age of 77. Had fought Alzheimer's for some time, but one of the greats of snooker, because at the time, snooker in the late 70s, especially the early 80s, was huge on TV. Now, obviously the game hasn't changed, and I don't think snooker is quite the popularity that it used to, but this is probably to do with the fact there's so much sport on TV, whereas back in the day, the World Championships, people would get any live sport that they could. So when that was televised, you'd be all over it, whether you like snooker or not, and there was a TV show called Pot Black that was in the 70s that all the great players were involved in. So that made the snooker players of that day real superstars, and Terry Griffiths was certainly one of those. And if you remember Snooker Loopy with Chaz and Dave, Snooker Loopy, nuts are we with all the back. I don't believe I actually sang that as a tribute to Terry Griffiths.
Eamonn would have been chiming in.
He would have been there. He's probably singing it now, but
how does he compare to, say, Ronnie O'Sullivan?
Ronnie, you know what? They're on different levels. I think Ronnie is probably the greatest snooker player that we've ever seen. Judd Trump is up there. Judd Trump won the UK Championship last night, and he's now the world #1. Terry had already won it, so he'd won the Triple Crown, he'd won the Masters, he won the UK Championship as well, and won the world title. He's just another one of those names, and I hate to use that corny phrase, yesteryear, but that was it. It was a golden age of snooker, and Terry Griffiths was very, very much part of that. So it's very sad that we've lost him, because he truly was one of the greats.
Thoughts with his family?
Yeah.
What else is in your box of tricks?
In my box of... Do you know what? We could mention what happened yesterday and Pep Guardiola and the fact that he was holding up his six fingers. It was, by the way, on 2 hands, just to let everybody know. Because
how else would it be? You can't do 6 fingers on 1 hand, Paul.
Well, there are some people that do. Well, did you... Mel Brooks.
Don't get it.
You know Mel Brooks, the comedian?
Yeah.
Mel Brooks, when he actually... I don't even believe that we've got into Mel Brooks, but when Mel Brooks had his handprint in the Hollywood Hall of Fame, because, you know, they do their hands, he actually had a prosthetic 6-finger put in there. So if you go to Grauman's Chinese Theatre, where all those handprints are in Hollywood, he did that as a joke. So you see 6 fingers.
Just to be funny. Not very funny.
Well, sometimes you've got to have a sense of humour to find it funny, Ben, and it is quite funny. So, but anyway, that's...
And also, Pep giving it the old 6.
Yeah, the whole point of that was to show, because people were singing to him. You're getting sacked in the morning. It's what the Liverpool fans were singing. So they're all singing that to him yesterday. So he holds up 6 fingers to try and say, listen, I've won 6 titles. You didn't really need to do that, Pep, anyway. But anyway, he had to try and make a point. But apparently all the people that were barracking him, giving him a hard time, apparently Pep said it was middle-class women of a certain age that were doing that to him. I can't believe that. But anyway, so there we are. 3rd round draw is today as well, 7 o'clock for the FA Cup. We all love the FA Cup, still the greatest cup competition.
Very quickly, who's doing the draw? Is it a celeb name? Or...
Oh, yeah, they usually do. They usually do it. And a couple of ex-players, and then they'll have the electric thing, and then... hold up the ball, number 35.
You should be like the voice of God on that. You'd be so good.
Do you think so? I'm going to do the draw.
Exactly, you'd be the celeb there.
I'd like to do the
ushering in that.
I'd make sure Tottenham were drawn at home to maybe a non-league team like Arsenal probably will be later on this evening, but we'll see.
Coit, you're going to be back, aren't you, tasting a full English with us very shortly?
Yeah, I will, yes.
Great, don't run away.
Of course.
We look forward to it. Thank you.
Still to come, Dawn Neeson and Chris Akabusi will be back to go through what's making the news today.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Yorkshire, the A650 is closed each way along Shipley-Airedale Road in Bradford after an accident. On the M60 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed anti-clockwise where someone's broken down between junctions 12 and 11 from the Eccles interchange to Barton, causing delays. On the M602 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident between junctions 3 and 2 towards the Trafford Park junction at Eccles. On the M6 in Cheshire, 3 lanes are closed northbound after an accident between junctions 18 and 19 from Middlewich to Knutsford, causing queues. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, the inside lanes closed southbound where a lorry's broken down a couple of miles before junction 16 near Northampton, with queues from junction 17 for the M45. And the A1M in Hertfordshire's closed northbound between junctions 8 and 9 from Stevenage to Letchworth after an accident causing delays in both directions. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We were just discussing my brand new grey hairs over the weekend, so I've got one.
He was delighted that he had, well, not delighted.
Delighted?
He thought just the one, but I've spotted a few more than one. I hate to break it to you.
He's been working with you for 5 minutes and you've already got him grey hairs.
Well, you saw what I've done to my other We've been working together a long time. It's not gone well.
Yeah, delighted isn't the word. Mortified, maybe. Anyway. We move on.
These two ladies of a certain age are hammering this poor young presenter.
Stop it.
How dare you talk about women of a certain age?
Exactly. Let's talk about booze. That's something we can all coalesce around.
Oh, yes.
This is in the Mail, page 11, Dawn. Festive wine actually now has less alcohol.
I know. I hate this story, which is why I picked it, because it's really annoying. That's something to mull over, the clues in the headline. Oh, my God, my seat's going down.
Oh, shocking.
Once you've been a star predator, you're always a star.
Shocking not. I have to stand up. The Mail, this is the Mail exclusive, have done a survey and they've found that most of the big supermarket retailers have cut the alcohol by volume in their mulled wine, but many of them are still charging the same price. So from November 2022 to November 2024, the alcohol by volume has gone down on average 0.5%, but the prices, in some cases, not all, have gone up.
Everything's such a scam these days, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is.
Inflation and
but
stitching up the
newsflash,
alcohol.
when you heat your mulled wine, you're burning off the booze anyway.
Oh, really?
Well, you're like,
I love
alcohol
mulled wine.
evaporates as you raise the temperature, doesn't it?
That's OK, then you just chuck some brandy on top of it.
Exactly, yeah.
No biggie.
we do the same thing. When there was
Christmas punch.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.
All right, there you go, top tip. Chris, let's talk about benefits worth £3,000 more than the minimum wage. This is in the Telegraph.
This absolutely blew my tiny little mind. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are on sickness benefits who need it. Let's get it out of the way. But you can be on sickness benefits and earn £23,900, which is £3 more than someone who's sweating away on a minimum wage. What's the incentive to get yourself better? And love the guy in there who does security, because he was telling me about some of the scams that you possibly can do. So you can go on the minimum wage. You're allowed to work for 7 hours a week while you are... Not minimum wage, so pardon me, sickness. You're allowed to work for 7 hours a week. So 7 hours a week, you can do a cleaning job, get a little bit of a backhander. Some people who do this as a scam, I'm not saying, can also then go and you can earn 35 grand a year, claiming 60-70% on your benefits. What's the incentive?
I'd like to know how we fare compared to, say, the rest of Europe and their welfare systems. You know, is it true that we are very, very generous, and that's why we have migrants? You know, the land of milk and honey.
It's pretty generous in Holland. All I can tell you is pretty much everybody burns out, in inverted commas, every 18 months, and then they take off a long period of time off. But I was reading over the weekend about sickfluencers. Have you heard about these?
No.
So they're on TikTok, all different social media platforms, giving advice on how to maximise what you can get out of the state in terms of sick pay.
How to scam it, yeah. No.
It doesn't pay to work anymore, does it?
And they have got millions of followers on those sites as well. I find it quite astonishing. And it's like, and it's if you go on there, and I hated myself because I was checking out the story, and they make it sound so easy to do. And it's little wonder. And the rise in sick notes at the moment is for mental health issues as well. And it's very difficult to disprove that someone genuinely has especially things like attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Yeah, when I was a soldier, if you wanted to take a week off, you had a bad back.
Yeah.
Because no one could see whether you've got a bad back. Yeah. You got a bad back and you had a week off, etc. Now you can... I think, you know, you can use another excuse, like you said, about mental health.
But unfortunately, those people who have a genuine mental health problems then get thrown out with the bathwater.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a relative that has it, you know, who's long-term mental health, mental illness, and it's very clearly so. Yeah. And, you know, he's one of the benefits of the state.
I think the welfare bill in the next year or two is estimated to be something like £100 billion. It's just insane.
It's more than we spend on defence or something like that, isn't it? That's what telling me. Should we talk about charities offering tips on how to avoid spiking? And this is interesting, Chris, because the government have just made it a law in its own right that spiking is... I mean, I'm amazed that hasn't been the case already.
Look, can we get this out of the way? Spiking was illegal, right? By the way. Yeah. It was a criminal offence to spike someone's drink. So I have no idea why suddenly we need to make a big announcement that we're making spiking illegal. There are several sections under the Criminal Justice Act that make it illegal.
But it's under its own right, is the phrase,
What's important, though, about this is that actually we still do need to be savvy, and our younger people need to be savvy. You know, we get a sense that everything's safe and secure. We do know that actually if you go to a party or a rave, there are unscrupulous people who might want to spike your drink. If you go to a country like Nigeria, where my parents come from, you would never, ever, ever leave your drink unattended and open topped. You'd always, never in a month for Sundays would you leave your drink unattended. You'd put your beer mat on top of the drink so no one can just drop something in there. Or, for example, when you get a beer brought to you, in the bottle, the top is opened up in front of you, and you consume that, and then you put the top back on. So you know, this
is why, Chris? Why?
Well, it's just there we go. You wouldn't want anybody to spike your drink to poison you.
Was it quite prevalent, spiking of drinks then?
Well, no, the awareness that someone can advertently put something in your drink that affects you, or your food even. You know, I think there's a sense, in a developing world, there's a sense that you are open to that sort of issue, whereas in the UK, for a long time, we've assumed that everybody is above board and not scrupulous. Yeah. I've experienced it on another side. So, no, it's important to be aware, and I think that's what this is saying. The charity is saying, be aware.
I'd never accept a drink from a stranger. Would you, Dawn?
No, not at all. Yeah. And I've always been... I used to work in pubs, and I was always very, very wary about having pints poured and left on the bar. I'll always order a bottle of beer rather than a pint that's poured for me.
Well, so if there was, like, 5 drinks... or 4 drinks, and we all got to do that, it's a different thing if you've all got your hand in there. But the idea that there were 4 or 5 drinks, someone bought them, and his or her hand is not in there, are you mad? No,
what's this the thing when you were children, when you were kids, going out in your 20s and your teens? I mean, it wasn't for me. I'm 35.
No. Well, I do remember my daughter, when she was 18, 19, come to pick up from a party, and I picked her up. She was absolutely gone. I couldn't smell any alcohol in her breath, but she was caned. And I knew that something untoward had happened to her. As I sat her down, I thought, my gosh, sweetheart, you were vulnerable to anybody and anything.
So what's happened then?
Someone has spiked her, for sure.
No, but generally in society, what is it with this thing with spiking? Because it didn't exist when I was around as a kid and going out in Ibiza and whatever. What's happened? Is it men who are watching porn? Is it I don't know. I mean, it seems quite sinister to me. I wouldn't let my kids, if I had a daughter.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, actually. I think maybe it is the fact that there is more pornography now, more accessible to everybody on social media.
Is it a sexual thing?
Well, it's definitely a sexual thing, but also on that point, boys aren't immune. There's a lot of predatory attacks and horrendous cases, isn't there, of a man targeting other men.
Yeah, 100%. Well done.
A horrendous case in Manchester, wasn't it, where young students were being targeted?
And in Brighton, there was a big old story in Brighton where somebody did all that stuff. But I think also accessibility to stuff. In our day, it's not easy to get hold of drugs and all that sort of stuff. Whereas today, internet, download it, there you go. Boom,
and I was also reading over the weekend that whilst the cost of alcohol is going up in an inflationary way, drugs apparently aren't. It's becoming more affordable.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think it's a great point about the drugs being more easily available.
Oh, dear.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bunch of wrong ones. Imagine being the kind of person to drug someone in their drink. Baffles my mind.
Yeah, mate, murder. Someone dies and you know you killed that person.
Right, guys, we're going to have a bit of a change of tune altogether, and we're going to celebrate the culinary tradition of an English breakfast. So stay tuned if you fancy a fry-up with us. See you in a mo.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan from 8 p.m.
You know, whenever I want to have a laugh, I will fire up a Ricky Gervais special on Netflix. He's funny, isn't he? Very politically incorrect. I might watch a vintage episode of Fawlty Towers if it hasn't been cancelled. Or I could just read up on the latest musings from the Welsh Labour government. And this week they have waged war on the countryside, which is apparently unwelcoming to British people of colour. Well, it's true, isn't it? I mean, those racial checkpoints in the Wye Valley are completely unacceptable. And the snowy bits of Mount Snowdon scream white privilege. Can you believe this story? It's proof, if you needed it, that Welsh Labour are barking mad and talking a load of shih tzu.
I think what's so interesting about this, I mean, this is an absurd question. This is ridiculous. Obviously, dogs and the countryside are not inherently racist. I think this entire connection between what is effective cultural Marxism, in addition to what is effective socialism, that is at the heart of Welsh Labour and many other hard-left groups in the United Kingdom.
I got to do a correction.
Go
because
on.
It's not Welsh Labour. It was one little thinky-tanky that did some research. I know it was taxpayer funded, but it was just a suggestion. Welsh Labour have not gone, yes, that's a good idea. This research, which I wholly agree is quite absurd, was done by interviewing the 4% ethnic minorities of Wales, and they came out with the fact that they don't feel welcome in green spaces because there are so many dogs, and that's how this was born. I mean, I don't know whether that makes it make any more sense.
And the fact that taxpayers are footing the bill for research like this is the real scandal. We had this earlier conversation about the National Health Service, where all of our money is going and being wasted, and it is also being wasted on absolute nonsense like this.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And
the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A lot of excitement in the studio right now. I probably can't see because of the strap there, but if you take a look, we've just been delivered a full English each, which is a real treat, isn't it?
Delicious.
Especially this stage in the programme when we're, 5 hours into our day?
Have you had breakfast yet?
No.
No, me neither. Me neither.
It is, of course, English Breakfast Day. It takes place on the 2nd of December every year, and it is, believe it or not, celebrated around the world.
Really? Nice.
Absolutely.
Well, the Full English, of course, is making a roaring comeback, apparently, and is the most popular it's been in 60 years.
Well, joining us in the studio is wellness chef Sandy Barra, who's been very busy cooking, I think, is it 3 different types of breakfasts here or 2 different ones?
2 different kinds.
2 different types, OK. So Ben and I have got the traditional Full English, and then Coity has got a bit of a twist on it. He's already
Am I allowed to start yet? Is that all right?
Of course, yeah. Well, you can give us your verdict. Just tell us, first of all, Sandy.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
So, when we go back in time, traditionally a breakfast was fruits of the land. So there would be bacon, there'd be sausage, there'd be mushrooms, there'd be sautéed potatoes. Beans came in the late 1800s from America. We never used to have beans, but I thought I couldn't really give you a breakfast.
Some sort of...
So I gave you some beans. And traditionally a nice roasted tomato as well. And it was all cooked in, again, natural oils. There was no sunflower, there was no rapeseed. There would be lard, there would be dripping. All your breakfasts have been cooked in butter. So it's going to be really sumptuous, and it is really good for you. The only difference is that on your breakfast is there's no potatoes, no sautéed potatoes, but I've given you chopped tomatoes.
OK, fine.
Tinned, good old-fashioned tinned, which you would find in a nice creasy spoon in any London
They
cafe.
are the healthiest type of tomato. You can get a tinned tomato, aren't they?
Absolutely. So you got a bit of both. Because
I get a bit confused, because if I've got tomato and I've got baked beans, and if I have tomato sauce, it's too much tomato-y business going on at the same time.
Can I say, as a chef, whenever I want to make my tomato taste even more tomatoey and gorgeous, put a little squirt of tomato sauce, ketchup, on top of your grilled tomato, and everyone will say, where are those tomatoes from?
Right, I got you.
Just a little cheeky trick, but you're enhancing the flavour.
About this.
Don't tell anybody.
Sandy, the only thing I can't do it. Black pudding.
Yeah, it's a traditional old-fashioned meat.
I've never had it in my life.
Come on, give it a try. No. Come on, you can do it.
2 years ago, first time, and I was just like, why have I never had this?
It's a sausage.
Over it.
It's a sausage.
It's dried pig's blood, isn't it?
Don't think about what it is.
Ben, let's do this, more of this. Go on, go for it.
This will be the first time...
I've been all the way to Bury.
In my mind.
This is a
I think you're going to like it.
From Bury.
My wife's family, they're Scots, they live off this stuff.
There you go.
Trying to talk his way out of it, just eat the damn thing. Go for
Shove it in your mouth.
Oh, it looks even...
Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Go for it.
Do you want me to do like the train? What do you think? It's not bad, is it? It's not what you expected.
Is it quite bloody?
No.
Oh, Isabel. I don't like it.
Is it quite iron?
If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Actually, while he's eating this, can you tell us exactly what black pudding is?
Yes.
I really don't like that.
Well, can I just say,
Look at his little
my favourite
face.
thing on this plate is the fried bread. It's so naughty. It's such a treat. I probably...
Can I have some of that? Because I'm not allowed anymore.
Yeah, you may have some of that. I'm just having the one...
I think you should better give you black pudding over there as well.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
You want it?
You know what? I really like it. I'll try it a little.
Sorry, Isabel.
That's it. Stick it on there.
But at least you know what? A fair play that you gave it a go. You gave it a go.
I'm not even lying just for TV. That was the first time in my life I've ever had black pudding.
And was it the last time?
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. You either love it or hate it. But a fried slice, again, you imagine in the old days they were making this beautiful breakfast in one big skillet, and then all that lovely fatty juice at the bottom. What did they do? Get a lovely homemade bread that was from the bakery, that a hand slice. Put that bread on the skillet, mop up all that lovely fat.
You know what?
You know, lovely fat, which we've forgotten about. That's why I keep saying about wellness, fat is good. Fat is good. And they've stopped doing it.
Everything is good, but all this trans rubbish, trans fat...
Yeah, everything in moderation is right. Don't go crazy.
No, I wasn't being all political there. Eggs. How do you like your eggs in the morning? Stop it.
Well, it's a bit...
on a trailer, isn't it, now?
It's a big debate.
How do you like your eggs?
It depends what mood I'm in, and it depends which client I'm cooking for. Like, all my footballers love scrambled eggs.
Right.
Really?
Love scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs.
Do you cook for a lot of footballers?
Yeah.
And how are they? Sort of. I'm not talking about the footballers. I mean the eggs. Runny or?
Oh, they don't like Gordon Ramsay's style, where it looks like.
Because in France, you go to France and it's just like it is sloppy.
I never do it to a slop consistency, just slightly above the slop.
Just above the slop.
But then, obviously, again, cooked in butter when you got that lovely creaminess.
Yes, exactly.
And a little trick is what I do is I slightly burn the butter when it's in the pan, just slightly, so it's got this nuttiness.
Caramelised butter.
And if you try that at home, just get your butter in the pan.
Yeah.
And just let it caramelise a little bit before you put your scrambled eggs in. You never taste anything like it.
What about these mushrooms? Because they are absolutely stunning.
In butter.
Is there garlic in them?
Not a touch of garlic. It's basically a classic seasoning, salt.
Oregano?
Salt and pepper.
Oh, I've got another question. scrambled eggs.
Yes.
Do you add milk to the scrambled eggs?
It's your call. It's your call. I use double cream.
And how do you heat it? High or just low and slowly?
Medium heat. Medium heat.
Right.
If you have the pan too hot, when you put the eggs in, it's just going to go brown, and you don't want brown eggs. You just want a nice medium heat. What I do recommend though is warm the pan up, so the whole pan is warmed, right? And then turn it down, so it gets lovely heat consistency in there.
My
fried bread is sensational.
She used to microwave.
Not naked.
Yeah, that's another way. Yeah, it's not cheating. I mean, some people say it's not great because it's a microwave, but hey, convenience.
And also, my local calf, Sandy, they grill everything. So they grill everything. There's no frying and stuff. Is that OK?
Of course, everyone's to their own. You can grill it, you can fry it.
Air fryer.
Air fry it. In some greasy spoons, they just have one fryer and they chuck everything in it. Even the mushrooms and the fried bread. You got that very typical taste that comes from a greasy spoon that you can't emulate at home.
Or if you go to a farmer's market, they're doing it on a sort of massive frying plate, aren't they?
Yeah. I remember a kid in Manchester. I went to this building site, and I'll never forget the lads were all cooking on a big, massive spade. Yeah. It was a clean spade. Yeah. And I remember this big block of lard going onto the spade. It was one of the best breakfasts I ever ate as a child.
It was one of my favourite memories. My dad was a plumber and used to work on building sites. So when I was a kid, he used to take me along. So in the morning, it was the special treat. We would go to the local greasy spoon, wherever it was, the full fry up. And you know what? And it's not just the taste, but the memory it gives me as well. Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Can you come every day, every morning, by the way?
Call me, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I'll cook you a breakfast, different styles of breakfast. There's lots of different ones.
Also, the different cuts of bacon. I just had some streaky. I'm all about the streaky.
Ah, yes, that was
I don't like the full, big, chunky ones.
Going back, I couldn't find an old-fashioned... Do you remember, I don't know if you remember it, a rolled bacon? So you have the whole bacon, so the back and the streaky with a nice crispy fat around the side. And it used to be sliced on a slice and it would be round. That would be a traditional bacon. That's gone now because they've separated the streaky to the back. So you guys got a bit of both. You got streaky and back.
Streaky, I think.
I'm streaky all the way. What about you?
I've no idea. I've just shoveled it all in.
You like the skinny or the fat?
Streaky, too crispy.
Oh, you like it sort of...
Something to get your teeth into.
Oh, you want it crispy?
Not soggy. No, it's too crispy. So rude.
You haven't eaten that black pudding yet?
Get it.
I've already had a nice piece of it.
Go on then, big chunk to finish off the hour.
Absolutely, I've got no problem with the black pudding.
Seeing as you
I'll have a little bit of black pudding.
Have some
I'll add your fried bread. I'll put a bit of egg on there as well.
But it just shows you that it's an art to cooking a breakfast. And many times we go somewhere else and it's just not done right. But I think I've kind of made you the best breakfast.
That's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Barrett, thank you for helping us celebrate English Breakfast Day. If you're having one at home, let us know. Meanwhile, here's Ellie with your weather.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been a bit of a chillier start for many of us this morning, with colder weather on the way for all of us as we head over the next couple of days. Back to what we've got out there at the moment though, a chilly start across parts of Scotland, some sleet and snow showers across the very far north, sinking their way southwards, and across northern parts of England, outbreaks of showery rain sink their way towards the southeast as we head towards the afternoon. For Northern Ireland, Wales, southwestern parts of England though, plenty of sunshine through the afternoon, plenty of blue skies on offer, but with northerly winds feeling much colder than over the weekend. Only 10 or 11 degrees in the south and 5 or 6 further north, and with some brisk northerly winds along eastern coast, feeling colder here through the afternoon too. As we then go into Monday evening, the outbreaks of showery rain across the southeast do linger for a time, but eventually clear their way offshore as we go through the evening. For southwest England, parts of Wales, generally staying dry through the evening, maybe 1 or 2 showers around, and perhaps 1 or 2 showers for Northern Ireland too. For Northern England, parts of Scotland generally staying dry to end the day, plenty of clear spells around. 1 or 2 isolated showers still across northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Again, these turning to sleet and snow in places. Those brisk northerly winds do continue along eastern coast, perhaps 1 or 2 showers here overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. But for most of us, it'll be turning drier overnight with plenty of clear spells, and light winds will mean it turns quite chilly as we start on Tuesday morning. Quite a widespread frost across the UK, down below 0 across much of Scotland and northern England, and even in the south, only around 2 or 3 degrees for many of us. So a chilly start to the day across much of the UK on Tuesday, but quite a bright start, plenty of sunshine to start the day. However, quickly turning cloudy across western areas as we see this weather front arriving, pushing its way eastwards as we go towards Tuesday afternoon, turning to sleet and snow over the hills across northern parts of the UK through Tuesday afternoon. Another chilly day to come for many of us, only 4 or 5 degrees in the north and around 9 or 10 in the south, so around average for the time of year.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway so far, with your chance to win a spectacular £50,000 in tax-free cash. 2025 could be amazing, with plenty of treats, holidays and fun on the horizon. How would you enjoy that cash? £50,000 will make someone our biggest ever winner. For your chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In West Yorkshire, the A650 is closed in both directions along Shipley Airedale Road in Bradford after an accident. On the M60 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed anti-clockwise where someone's broken down between junctions 12 and 11 from the Eccles interchange to Barton, with queues towards there. Now, on the M6 in Cheshire, there are northbound queues after traffic was stopped because of an accident between junctions 18 and 19 from the Middlewich and Holmes Chapel turn to Knutsford. Buses replaced trains between Royston and Letchworth Garden City because of a faulty train. The A1M in Hertfordshire is closed northbound between junctions 8 and 9 from Stevenage to Letchworth after an accident. There are queues from junction 7 south of Stevenage, and southbound delays past the scene because of onlookers. On the M11 in Essex, there's a lane closed southbound at junction 5 at Loughton after an accident, with queues from junction 6 for the M25. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Very good morning to you. Mutiny mounting at the BBC over disgraced presenter Greg Wallace.
Anger within the organisation is growing after it's revealed that he remained on air despite at least 4 complaints against him.
The BBC is now under pressure to explain why they didn't act sooner over the allegations against Mr Wallace.
The Prime Minister's looking to reset his political agenda this week as he outlines his plan for change.
And stateside, US President Joe Biden pardons his son Hunter, claiming he was unfairly prosecuted.
For who the bell tolls, Nigel Farage, alongside 9 others, are calling to radically reform or replace the World Health Organization. We were joined earlier by the leader of Reform.
And the world's richest man, Elon Musk, is tipped to donate Reform UK a whopping £78 million to help get Nigel Farage into number 10. Could Musk be the man to shake up British politics? We spoke to the Shadow Paymaster General Richard Holden.
Say exactly the same to Elon Musk. I'd say, look, if you want to see Keir Starmer out of office, then more broadly, whether it's yourself or anybody else, you've got to support the Conservatives.
And police are launching their annual drink drive campaign, deploying additional officers on patrol to catch drivers under the influence.
It's been a chilly start for some of us this morning, with cold weather on the way for all of us over the next day or so. Join me later to find out all the details with the full forecast.
It's 9:01. I'm Isabel Webster.
And I'm Ben Leo, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Lots of people getting in touch about our English breakfasts just then. People saying that eating black pudding is like eating a scab, so you don't need to feel bad.
Well, no, there
was
was lots of abuse for me. It was the first time in my life, no exaggeration, the first time ever I'd tried black pudding. It's as horrible as I imagined, but lots of you on your say calling me a... what's the...
A big girl's blouse.
Big girl's blouse,
there
yeah.
You go. We also put a call out this morning for Christmas tree pictures because, of course, it is now December. It's officially OK. We've got our GB News trees up. Lots of you have been getting involved. And here are some of those that you've sent in this morning. An absolutely gorgeous array. Oh, look at that with the TV on as well, with GB News on.
Beautiful.
Absolutely stunning. So thanks, guys.
Some wonder lights, as Regent Street and Oxford Street would call them. Wonder lights, not a word of Christmas. Definitely not... Oh, wow, look at those lights.
Yeah, coloured lights
Brilliant.
aren't really very common anymore. I always had coloured lights on my Christmas tree growing up.
Little
look.
puss.
Yeah, my cat was coloured. Oh, look at that. That's a whopper. Oh, there we go. A nativity scene. If you're listening on the radio, it's worth scrolling through when you can watch back the show just to have a look at some of these festive delights, or should I say Christmas delights?
Oh, look at that. The lights up the stairs.
Wow.
Great tree as well.
Gorgeous, guys. Thank you. We've been absolutely swamped. We could keep going for hours on these, but thank you. We love to see it. It's fabulous.
I'm glad to see so many people's trees are up early, because I had this discussion with my wife at the weekend and we put ours up. I said, is it not a bit early?
I think it's a bit early. Personally, I would always wait until
Yeah.
the kids break up from school, but maybe
Why not?
I'm
Christmas cheer. Never harmed anybody. Right, we move on. So Keir Starmer has said a new phase for his government will begin this week under what he calls a plan for change for Britain.
The PM described the strategy as the most ambitious yet honest delivery plan in a generation, as the government is knuckling down on delivering its election promises.
OK, we're joined now by Building Safety Minister Alex Norris. Good morning, Mr Norris. Thank you for joining us. A reset little after 6 months in. I mean, why do you need to reset your operations in government? Has everything not been going according to plan?
Morning, Ben. I don't recognise that characterisation at all. You know, we won an election in July based on commitments that we made to the public about the change we want to see for our country and they want to see for our country. What we'll be setting out in the days to come is what that change looks like. You know, I think it's reasonable that the government of the day should want to be really candid and honest about delivery. It's not been something that we've seen in recent years, but we are. So that's what we'll be setting out. It's perfectly consistent with our approach at the election, and we think it's the right way to do in order for the public to be able to hold us to account.
Though, isn't it, doing this? Because Rishi Sunak famously came out with his 5 pledges, which became a stick to beat him with when he was unable to stop the boats, as he insisted that we could, and we could judge him on his record. And we did. The Prime Minister is set to list 5 missions this week: the economy, the NHS, public safety, energy, security and social mobility. There is one gaping hole in that list of priorities. Can you guess what it is?
Well, those, as I say, are literally the priorities that we'd set at the election. So, you know, it's entirely consistent with the pitch we made. But if there's extra bits, then, of course, we'll be interested in hear what you're after.
Immigration is one of the most important issues that people are concerned about. It comes out top of all focus groups' concerns. 20,000 people have crossed the Channel in the 5 months since you've been in office. And it has been the deadliest year for crossings on record, with 50 people having drowned. And yet, in this political reset, there is no mention of it from the Prime Minister.
Well, I don't think that people will see a want for either commitments or energy around immigration from this government, nor indeed have any issue holding to us to account for it. So, we will be very clear about what we're doing. We've already, made significant progress in terms of flights returning people who didn't have the right to be here. We've increased processing capacity to speed that up. We've made investments on the continent with our partners to disrupt organised crime. We're making and made agreements around the world in order to make that process easier too as well. So there's lots of activity going on. We've inherited, of course, a failing system, and we're tackling that. So I don't think the public, as I say, will want for seeing us put lots of energy into this.
OK, well, you say that, Mr Norris, and of course Christmas and the New Year is a time for reflection and looking back. That said, why is your boss's net approval rating crashing to minus 32%? It's absolutely in the gutter. If everything's hunky-dory and the public are happy with what you're doing and this government, the way this government is going, why is his net approval rating so bad?
Well, Ben, you've on your show and on the clips you've done over the years, you've had ministers from the previous government on a day-by-day basis come with short-term, sugar-high political solutions to try and change popularity on day-to-day polling, a point here and a point there, all of which has damaged public services, damaged our economy, left us with the migration system that we've got that's totally failing. So we're not doing that as a government. We're not living and dying by day-to-day opinion polling. We're making long-term investments and reform in this country to deliver the change that people want to see. That's what we set out at the election. The greater detail people will see this week as well. That's what we believe proper government to be, rather, as I say, than living and dying by day-to-day polling.
What you did set out before the election was very much your strategy that those with the broadest shoulders should bear the brunt of the pain as that you see it leading into your administration. Why is it then, as you take away the winter fuel payments from our most vulnerable, with your own impact assessment seeing 100,000 of those being pushed into relative poverty, are people like your colleague, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, at the taxpayers' expense, claiming £350 a month to cover their energy bills? Where is the morality in that? Surely those, like her, who live in a £4 million house in Notting Hill, can afford not to call on the taxpayer to pay their bills, whilst pensioners are being pushed into poverty.
Well, with regards to the winter fuel allowance, the poorest pensioners are being protected, and we would want more, and I've seen a lot of this in my constituency of people applying for pension credit so that they can get that support. If they fall just out of the qualifications for that, well, then they can apply for the household support fund to help smooth that cliff edge off. We also have to see this in greater context. Since the winter fuel allowance was brought in, we've seen the triple lock on pensions, which has greatly increased and improved the living standards of pensioners. So I have to say, accept the characterisation that you make. And with regards to individual members of Parliament, my colleagues across government, every other person that goes here today, like anybody else watching the programme who works away, has their costs of doing so met. That's an independent process set by the independent parliamentary authorities, and that's one that, as I say, people up and down the country would recognise, and it's the same for us as it's the same for anybody else.
It's not a good look, though, is it, Mr Norris, when 44,000 terminally ill pensioners who rely on electricity in great demand during the winter months to keep life-saving devices going, to keep themselves warm, to wash their clothes, to dry their clothes, and indeed, by your own research, up to 4,000 pensioners could die this winter as a result of losing the winter fuel allowance. It's not a good look, is it, when your own minister who decides that legislation is claiming £400 a month to pay her own energy bills, all while, as Isabel said, living in a £4 million mansion?
Well, as I say, support for vulnerable pensioners is available, whether through pension credit, through the household support fund. Of course, all pensioners have seen significant increases in recent years as well. It was a difficult situation for us to be in as a new government. We inherited an absolute mess from the previous administration and have had to set to making it right. So, yes, that was an exceptionally difficult decision and not one
£1.5 billion you're raising.
That we have any joy in making.
Sorry to interject. £1.5 billion, if that, you're raising for the Treasury coffers with this policy, all while you've spent £22 billion on a carbon capture scheme that nobody likes, eco-zealots, the climate sceptics, £14 billion on foreign aid, £14 billion on public sector pay rises to train drivers who already earn up to £70,000 a year. It goes on and on. So you do say it's a choice, but it's a political choice, is it not?
Well, all choices we make are political choices, but we inherited a £22 billion black hole in the public's finances. We make no apology for addressing the pay, whether it's nurses, teachers, or people who've had really hard times themselves and, who step up every day for the nation. We make no apologies in what we've done there. There are difficult choices. This was one of them. Our mitigation for that was making sure there's the access to pension credit, and we want more people to apply for it. We're making sure we've made available the household support fund to smooth off those cliff edges. So, these are difficult choices because of the inheritance we've had, and we are making our best of that situation.
Yeah, Alex Norris, you are the Buildings Safety Minister, and I know that you do want specifically to talk about Grenfell 7 years on, the impact of it, and you are announcing new deadlines. You want to see those rogue landlords in jail if they fail to remove the cladding. But I just want to read out some of the concerns from campaigners who say that actually we are still far from a comprehensive solution. They say that your plans are extremely disappointing and will only make a horribly complicated process even worse with further layers of bureaucracy.
I mean, it won't surprise you to hear that we don't believe that that's the case. I mean, I've spoken to campaigners, I'm seeing them again later this week, and we'll continue to engage with them. We've inherited a situation where, at the current rate of remediation, it will be into the 2040s until people living in buildings with dangerous cladding have that dangerous cladding removed. That's not acceptable. The plan that we'll be announcing later in Parliament today brings that forward to 2029, and that is a rapid acceleration, and we think the right thing to do, and shows a clear trajectory to the end of what's been a long-running nightmare for people. So we're getting on with that. We've got major commitments from developers to accelerate their own remediation, and we're going to work very hard. I mean, again, we talk about some of the challenges governments face. I've come in as new Building Safety Minister, and it won't surprise you, the first question I asked was how many buildings need remediation, and the answer is the previous government didn't know. They never worked it out. We know that there are 5,000 in scope, of which half have been remediated or work has started, and then there's a gap of either 4,000 to 7,000 that might have dangerous cladding on. So we're now trying to fix that, and again, a part of our plan today will be rapidly resolving that, so we know how many buildings need remediation. So I wish, as the campaigners do, that there was a lever we could pull that meant that it's resolved tomorrow, because they've waited more than 7 years, which already is too long. What I'm saying is the choice today is either the 2029 that we're bringing forward or into the 2040s, and I know what I want, and that's what we're working on.
OK. Alex Norris, thanks very much indeed for your time this morning.
OK, we're joined now by GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster for her reaction to that. Catherine, good morning. You heard what the Mr Norris had to say there, Alex Norris. Thoughts, first of all, on the... I guess he said it was a political choice. He admitted it for the first time, which is the first time I've heard any Labour representative admit that in terms of the winter fuel allowance. Is that the same your end? Have you heard them admit that before?
Well, it is a political choice. I mean, clearly they didn't have to do it. They've chosen to do it. What struck me was the first question when you mentioned this speech that the Prime Minister is making on Thursday, this reset, if you like, because Labour desperately want to change the narrative because things are not going very well, that the Minister said that he did not recognise that characterisation. That is the sort of line that you tend to only hear from a politician, isn't it? But they do need to do something, because 5 months in, their popularity is plunging. The poll ratings are pretty awful, and they had these 5 missions. Immigration, control of immigration, was not one of them, and we're not expecting to hear much about immigration on Thursday. But we have heard little bits and pieces being trailed, one of which is NHS to hit targets of 92% of routine operations happening within 18 weeks. By 2029. So you might think that that sounds great. And of course, the NHS, one of the few big winners from the budget, getting that extra £22 billion. But there are voices in the NHS already warning that that will mean that the focus, that will have a knock-on negative impact on things like GPs, on A&E, on dentistry and so on. And that's before you factor in the fact that the House of Commons just voted to legalise assisted dying. That's going to add a whole lot more work to the NHS. And the other thing is the growth. They pledged that the UK would have the fastest growth in the G7. We don't expect to be hearing that on Thursday. They say it's not been dropped. But how on earth can you control that? You can only control possibly our growth. You can't control what the other G7 countries are doing. And following the budget, the growth forecast from the OBR and others are very, very gloomy. So it's not looking good for the government at the moment. Can they make us all feel a bit better on Thursday? I wouldn't hold your breath.
No. OK, Catherine, thanks very much indeed. This might make us all feel a little bit better, though. It's our biggest and our greatest Great British giveaway, and it is great, and it is big.
50 grand could be yours in tax-free cash. It's the biggest prize we've ever given away, and it could really make your new year a Bobby Belter indeed. Here's all the details you need to win.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For your chance to win £50,000 cash, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck to you. 50 grand I've already asked you. You said you'd invest it or save it. I want something more oomph. What would you do?
I don't know.
Come on. Stick it on red, someone said in Orion.
Probably pay off my mortgage.
OK. Still boring.
I know.
I want you to say a girl's week in Vegas or something.
No, I just wouldn't blow it. That's a lot of money. You can't waste that. You've got to look after it. We've got Bev and Patrick in for Andrew Pearce today. They're going to tell us what's coming up in Britain's newsroom in just a moment. Don't move a muscle.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What about train Wi-Fi? It's so funny the Times did this story, because I was on the train yesterday trying to do some work and connecting to the Wi-Fi, and it happens all the time. It just doesn't work. It's pathetic. And then I opened the Times, and they've done a massive investigation. Loads of different rail routes from north to south.
Was that the James Bond thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. What's
that passenger got through, or almost got through, one episode of one James Bond movie in 8 hours.
But you know, it's interesting. We call it train Wi-Fi, but it isn't. It's just really a SIM card on a train, really. So if your own phone's not going to get signal, why would we assume that the train's going to have signal? It just doesn't work like that. Unless you're in Japan or South Korea, whose infrastructure is infinitely better than ours, you're just not going to get signal. You have to download those films way before you get on
There is technology that can help with that. You know, there really is. If they found ways to put it underground, they can get it on ground and get you going. I definitely think, you know, with the price that we're paying for these tickets, they can get the Wi-Fi going. There is technology.
That's why it's so frustrating, isn't
Call
it?
Elon, get a Starlink, let's go.
If you're a passenger paying hundreds of pounds for a season ticket or whatever you call it, and you commute to work every single day, and you're paying all this money, and you can't.
It's so expensive. You'd expect Wi-Fi at the basic. Yeah, exactly.
But it happens with phone signal as well. I'll be walking down London in Park Lane or somewhere else, or down on the south coast. I just don't have phone signal, and I think to myself, what on earth is going on?
Doesn't it feel like 5G's made it worse, though?
Yeah.
Because I feel like 4G, that didn't happen so much, but 5G just feels like...
Yeah, and then I always get this little E in the top corner of my phone, and I don't get any signal. I think it's got worse over the past couple of years. Yeah, especially with 5G. I agree with that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We've been getting festive this morning. The trees are out, the baubles are out. But actually, we're also talking a little bit here on GB News about the meaning of Christmas. So during Advent, as we count down every day, we're going to be hearing from church ministers across the country. And they're going to have a special message for you to celebrate the festive season.
Day 2.
My name's Marcus. I'm a priest in the Church of England. Imagine trying to walk through a room that is completely dark. As you try and feel your way around, you're bumping into things, tripping over things, and making a complete mess in the process. Without light, we cannot see the truth about things. We end up getting confused, disorientated, and lost in the dark. Maybe this is how you feel in a spiritual sort of sense. When we are spiritually in the dark, we don't know who we are, where we are from, or where we are going. Evil becomes good, and good becomes evil. As we approach Christmas and all the Christmas lights go up, a light has dawned in the darkness. With the birth of Jesus Christ, he came to earth to shed a light on the truth about God and about life, which means we no longer have to walk in darkness. Jesus tells us in John chapter 8, verse 12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never have to walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. This is Emmanuel, God with us.
I love that.
like that.
I love that. Because we get lost in the mire of material things and presents and spending money and outspending each other. And
there's a lot of darkness, isn't there, in the world? So a little bit of light goes a long way.
Yeah.
You can see all of our special Advent messages as Christmas is approaching. You can go to our website, gbnews.com/Advent.
Giggling away just to the right of us
Talking of light.
is Bev and the return of Patrick Christie's. Hello. Welcome back.
Which one's light, which one's darkness?
Back off his honeymoon and I get him on day one, lucky me.
Exactly, no, it's a pleasure to be back. I have had a lovely honeymoon, but I've missed this as well. So
Are you double shifting?
I am, so I'll be back doing my own show this evening, 9:20 p.m. I very much miss doing that. There's a heck of a lot to get stuck into, isn't there? So, yes.
We're going to be discussing this morning the Greg Wallace furore. Is it appropriate to lose your whole career and be cancelled because of a dirty joke you might have made 10 years ago? In my opinion, no, but we're going to be discussing that. We've got Richard Tice coming in. We're going to talk about whether Reform are going to get millions of pounds from Elon Musk.
Yes, indeed. 20,000 illegal migrants arrived in the UK across the Channel since Starmer became PM. So we're going to be having a talk about that.
And guess what they're not mentioning in their reset this week? They've got 5 topics, no mention of migration.
Yeah, which is, I think, shooting yourself in the foot. Again, tone deaf there. On Labour as well, we're going to be talking about whether or not Keir Starmer's stolen Christmas. The latest retail figures are out. They're pretty shocking. The employment figures, the footfall, the revenue. You know, what's going on? Well, it's fear about the Labour economy, isn't it?
Well, no surprise when you go down Oxford Street and it says Wonder Lights and the word Christmas cannot be seen anywhere. Thank you. That's coming up in just a tick. That's all from us. We'll be back at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Have a lovely day. Here's your forecast.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. It's been a bit of a chillier start for many of us this morning, with colder weather on the way for all of us as we head over the next couple of days. Back to what we've got out there at the moment, though. A chilly start across parts of Scotland, some sleet and snow showers across the very far north, sinking their way southwards. And across northern parts of England, outbreaks of showery rain sink their way towards the southeast as we head towards the afternoon. For Northern Ireland, Wales, southwestern parts of England, though, plenty of sunshine through the afternoon, plenty of blue skies on offer, but with northerly winds feeling much colder than over the weekend. Only 10 or 11 degrees in the south and 5 or 6 further north, and with some brisk northerly winds along eastern coast, feeling colder here through the afternoon too. As we then go into Monday evening, the outbreaks of showery rain across the southeast do linger for a time, but eventually clear their way offshore as we go through the evening. For southwest England, parts of Wales, generally staying dry through the evening, maybe 1 or 2 showers around, and perhaps 1 or 2 showers for Northern Ireland too. For Northern England, parts of Scotland generally staying dry to end the day, plenty of clear spells around. 1 or 2 isolated showers still across northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Again, these turning to sleet and snow in places. Those brisk northerly winds do continue along eastern coast, perhaps 1 or 2 showers here overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. But for most of us, it'll be turning drier overnight with plenty of clear spells, and light winds will mean it turns quite chilly as we start on Tuesday morning. Quite a widespread frost across the UK, down below 0 across much of Scotland and northern England, and even in the south, only around 2 or 3 degrees for many of us. So a chilly start to the day across much of the UK on Tuesday, but quite a bright start, plenty of sunshine to start the day. However, quickly turning cloudy across western areas as we see this weather front arriving, pushing its way eastwards as we go towards Tuesday afternoon, turning to sleet and snow over the hills across northern parts of the UK through Tuesday afternoon. Another chilly day to come for many of us, only 4 or 5 degrees in the north and around 9 or 10 in the south, so around average for the time of year.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the A1 in Tyne and Wear, there's a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down between junctions 66 and 69 from the Angel of the North to the Dunstan interchange, causing queues. In West Yorkshire, the A650 is closed each way along Shipley Airedale Road in Bradford after an accident. On the M16 Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed anti-clockwise where someone's broken down between junctions 12 and 11 from the Eccles interchange to Barton, causing delays. The M6 in Cheshire's blocked northbound by an accident between junctions 18 and 19 from the Middlewich and Holmes Chapel turn to Knutsford, causing queues. And then further up, there's a breakdown causing delays between junctions 21A and 22 from the M62 to Newton Le Willows. Trains have been stopped between Llandilo and Llangadog because of a points failure, and the A1M in Hertfordshire's closed northbound between junctions 8 and 9 from Stevenage to Letchworth after an accident, with queues each way from junction 7 south of Stevenage and from junction 10 at Stotfold.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's a time for the vegan community to get together, as well as an opportunity for non-vegans to try going plant-based.
Well, joining us now is from her delicious hummus. We both love hummus. This is a great thing. This is the founder of Chickpea, Hannah McCollum. Hannah, lovely to meet you. And you've brought in some of your beautiful products in front of you here. So can you talk us through some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a range of chilled hummus, and then latest to the range of a new ambient snack pot, which is a fridgeless hummus that doesn't require refrigeration. But I started Chickpea because of my love for hummus, but also sustainability and reducing food waste and encouraging people to be more plant-based without saying go vegan.
Does normal, say, traditional hummus have anything that's not vegan appropriate in it?
Not really.
No.
I think
it's always chickpeas, olive oil, maybe some other bits.
Yeah, lemon juice, aquafibre or water to help with consistency, garlic, and rapeseed oil or olive oil.
And there's a bit of a misconception about veganism that I hear a lot, where people say, "Look, I'm not a vegan. I love my steaks. I'll just get out of there now." But there's a misconception that you don't get the protein, you don't get the fats, and you're kind of just eating processed salads and fake meat and things. But that's not quite the case, especially with chickpeas, right?
Yeah, I think protein is really important, and actually a lot of people think I need a certain amount of fish every week or meat, but actually a lot of the fish and meat that you're eating are eating higher protein foods, so algae, seaweed, pulses, all these types of plant-based foods. For me, veganism is like you could have a delicious rye seeded bread with just loads of roasted vegetables, seeds, tahini sauce on top.
That sounds
and there's nothing beige in there at all.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Christmas music. It's 9:30. I've not heard that. On Monday, the 2nd of December, live across the UK, this is Britain's Newsroom with me, Bev Turner, and Patrick Christys, who's in for Andrew Pearce.
Hello, everybody. Yes. Do middle-class women of a certain age have a lower threshold when it comes to sexual harassment at work? Well, Greg Wallace certainly thinks so.
Newspaper, I can see the complaints coming from a handful
of middle-class women of a certain age.
As a middle-class woman of a certain age, I disagree. Now, there is a mutiny brewing at the BBC over these sexual harassment claims against Greg Wallace, as it's revealed that bosses were warned about his behaviour 4 times.
What's going on there? Now, presidential pardon. US President Joe Biden pardons his son Hunter, claiming he was unfairly prosecuted over gun and tax charges after repeatedly promising not to do so. OK, well, a U-turn that Labour would be proud of?
A migrant milestone. More than 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, as Labour looks set to stop using a numerical target for net migration. Keep smashing those gangs,
Smash the gangs, smash the gangs, everybody. And the world's richest man, Elon Musk, he's tipped to donate to reform £78 million, apparently, to help get Nigel Farage into number 10. Could Musk be the man to shake up British politics?
And police launched their Drink Drive campaign this Christmas to catch those under the influence. These drivers in North Yorkshire have been stopped at random as part of Operation Limit.
Going slightly over the speed limit, so he's just breathalysed me and give me a few words of advice. It's a vital thing to do.
I'm of that age group, which is probably guilty more so than others, a lot of others, but yeah, fully aware. I don't drink and drive.
We've got Richard Tice coming in on that reform story. I'm looking forward to hearing about that. And I'm looking forward to hearing all about your honeymoon.
Gosh, maybe that's a conversation we can have off air, though. Hey, who thinks about that? Anyway, yes, make sure that you get in touch. We do want to hear from you. So gbnews.com/your say. But first, it's time for your news with Katie Bowen.
A very good morning to you. It's just gone 9:30. These are your latest headlines from the GB newsroom. The BBC is facing questions this morning over when they were made aware of allegations against Greg Wallace. Former BBC insiders say chiefs at the corporation reportedly knew about the allegations against the MasterChef star back in 2012, and bosses were warned about his alleged behaviour 4 times. Mr Wallace prompted further backlash yesterday after saying that accusations of inappropriate behaviour against him were coming from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age. In a statement, the BBC said, "We take any issues that are raised with us seriously, and we have robust processes in place to deal with them." Greg Wallace's lawyers say it is entirely false that he engages in behaviour of a sexually harassing nature. To the US, where President Joe Biden has issued an official pardon for his son Hunter, saying he was unfairly prosecuted. Hunter Biden was set to face sentencing this month on federal felony gun and tax convictions. He pleaded guilty to tax charges earlier in September and was found guilty of being an illegal drug user in possession of a gun in June. That made him the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of a crime. President Biden said in a statement last night that politics has infected this process and led to a miscarriage of justice. US President-elect Donald Trump has called the pardon an abuse and miscarriage of justice. Back at home, Sir Keir Starmer is set to unveil his plan for change this week, with the Prime Minister saying it will be the most ambitious yet honest delivery plan in a generation. It's being reported that Mr Starmer will pledge that by March 2029, the NHS will meet its target of carrying out 92% of routine operations and appointments within 18 weeks.